I think it's time to have a refresher, because over time people seem to forget where the actual center is. I had some people who were in the comment section yesterday, and they were apparently folks have lost the plot, as it were. I gave a very objective analysis about Donald Trump, of course, doing exactly what Donald Trump does, self-destructing as soon as you give him power, because, as Michael Jai White said, some folks just, you can't give them power because all they can do is off themselves with it. And then I noticed there were some people who they've come here and apparently have not been paying any attention to the last 15, 16 years or the last 15, 16 months. We don't play the game of political football here. We are not political operatives. If you're a political operative, this is going to be just a very uncomfortable place for you to hang out at. If you are a Democrat trying to convince us how to vote for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, life is just going to be very uncomfortable for you here. And if you are a Republican who thinks that simply because we did not support the Democrats in recent history, that somehow that means we're all chomping at the bit and now we're all Republicans and MAGA now and ain't no racism and conservative America. Okay. Too many of you have grown up on YouTube, and that's why YouTube inflates sellouts and coons in their algorithm. And then you come here and you think that that's what we're on. And that's never been the case. Not at all. Not ever. And it never will be. What's good for Donald Trump is not necessarily good for us. As a matter of fact, I would argue for you that throughout Donald Trump's life, what's good for him has usually not been good for us. We did not support Donald Trump. We fell back from supporting Democrats or supporting anybody. That's what occurred. However, in the binary, short-sighted world of the internet and YouTube, if you're not Democrat, you're Republican. If you're not Republican, you're Democrat. When in reality, the elections are decided by those who do not align with either party, and that is the smart position to be in. If you're already in the tank, you have no influence. You have no power. You only have power when you are non-committal. When you are standing on the outside looking in. When you are standing on the outside looking in and you are objective, that's when you have power. Already I can see foolishness manifesting itself. People, let's be very clear. To the short bus children, to the lead pipe babies, to the dropped on your head children out there, the dropped on your head infants. When you take a look on that screen up there, let me be clear because I'm consistent. You've lost your consistency, but let me remind you again to realign you with consistency. I don't support either of the people that you see on that screen right now. What? Now there's consistency that you need to get realigned with there. If you have any criticism of Zelensky or J.D. Vance, by the way, I'm not aligned with either one. I don't support either one. There's where you have flown off the rails. If you have a criticism one way or the other. You see, I am in support of our principles, our agenda. On the chessboard, I am playing against Zelensky and I'm playing against Donald Trump. That's 4D chess. The weak ass clowns sit up here and watch MSNBC. Ooh, we got to go against Trump. Or they sit there and watch Fox News or Ben Shapiro. Ooh, we got to be against Democrats. Meanwhile, over here in Intelligent Black Society, I'm playing against both. I do not support either, and I'm playing against both of them. I am trying to position and triangulate against both because neither one of them supports our agenda. I'm not interested in individuals who incidentally seem to be in alignment with us on certain issues. I'm not going for incidental, accidental alignment. When you walk through the damn door, You supposed to be shaking us by the hand, patting us on the back and saying, this my man's. And there is no one walking through the door, shaking our hands, patting us on the back and saying, this my man's. Now they're saying it to Jewish people. They're saying it to illegal aliens who can't even vote. They're saying it to LGBT. They're saying it to Latinos. They're saying it to Asians. Everybody except us. Everyone except us. And that's the difference. In the chat room, I'm very glad that FBA family says that they trust Mr. Trump. I'm very glad to see that. Let me go ahead and throw the Zoom link up here, and they can go ahead and call us all up and explain to us why it is that after the Central Park Five and all of his white supremacy and his blatant anti-black statements, and you want to know who he did shake on the hand and pat on the back? Daniel Penny. Damn! Well, he did shake Daniel Penny's hand and pat him on the back. Now, that he did. Didn't see us getting the shake on the hand and the pat on the back. So we're going to give you a couple of minutes here to go ahead and hit the link. Let me go ahead and throw the link up in the chat room for you there, and you can explain to all of us what it is that we are all missing. After all these decades of analysis, what it is that we are all allegedly missing here. And you have 2 minutes to be on board for that. Don't worry, I have a feeling we're going to see a repeat of lead pipe babyism from last night, but you have 2 minutes to go ahead and be on the line for that, because I'm sure, of course, everyone would love to be regaled to your epic wisdom in this regard about what it is we all missed over the course of the last, 2 decades. We'd all like to find out exactly what it was that we allegedly missed that you caught on to. So, folks, you have to understand out there, in the brain-dead world of everything since the iPhone was invented, the slow bus children, they found a keyboard, they found a mouse pad, they found somebody's old iPhone 4 that they threw away in a garbage can somewhere, and they've been on the internet, and the internet was founded by pornographers and white supremacists. The commercial internet, its foundation, its base, was built by pornographers and white supremacists. And so when you go to YouTube, they don't have pornography writ large, but they do have plenty of wall-to-wall white supremacy. And if you spend enough time in the YouTube algorithm, the Google algorithm, God forbid the Twitter algorithm, you are eventually going to develop Stockholm Syndrome. You will be flooded and inundated with nothing but white supremacist voices. Nothing but white supremacist voices. In the chat room, I'm not really sure. Like I said, I got a feeling some folks here, I'm not sure what they're doing. If I see somebody's making weird statements or whatever, we're not going to have it tonight. So if you're trying to polish off your jokes or your comedy career, bad night to try for it. So you've been warned. So in any case, by the way, I'm about to get rid of you-know-who. It's been a couple minutes now, still waiting on you here. If you have something to say there, remember the first sign that you have destroyed your own position is when you can't defend it, which is why I called them out to say, hey, time to defend that position. Ooh, can't defend it. Thank you. You proved my point as well as anything I've said. So let's be clear about this. We're playing against all of them because all of them are playing against us. Don't tell me about no damn Nazis over in Ukraine. We got Nazis right here in the United States of America, in case you did not notice. From the bug-eyed Waldo Faldo grandchildren. We got white supremacists sitting right here. We got Nazis sitting right here. I'm not impressed when somebody dangles white supremacists in a country I don't even live in on the other side of the world that doesn't have any relation to me. That doesn't worry me. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't threaten me. I assume what reality is. When I say that white supremacy is global, that's not a cliche or a slogan. When I say that white supremacy is global, I mean white supremacy is global. So when I look around, I expect to see that. I expect to see white supremacy everywhere you look. I expect to see that. So I'm not surprised when I see it. You got Nazis in Ukraine, you got Nazis in Russia, but then when you take a look at their history, and by the way, I notice there's a bunch of folk here who don't even know their history. For those of us who are half a century old or older, we got to understand it's a bunch of little iPhone teeny boppers who've made it to their 20s or 30s. They were not alive, or they were just little children when the Soviet Union was a thing. They don't remember President Reagan and tear down this wall. They don't remember Mikhail Gorbachev. They don't remember any of the Boris Yeltsin after him. They don't know anything about that. They don't know that they call it Russia, but originally Russia was just the seat of the Soviet Union. Hell, they don't, and they damn sure don't know about the Bolshevik Revolution. They damn sure don't know about that. And all the satellite states that Russia had conquered over the course of the last 150 years, when the Soviet Union collapsed, those nations broke back off into their independent nation states again. And Vladimir Putin said when he invaded Georgia, and this is after Crimea and other areas, that the greatest sin that had happened was the collapse of the Soviet Union and letting go of their satellite states. That was the greatest, most shameful crime. So when I hear some dumbass sitting up here repeating Fox News talking about Zelensky was in the wrong or whatever, I'm like, okay, obviously you're a moron who knows nothing about history. You're talking about what you've seen in the last 6 days. I'm talking about the last 6 decades. You don't even know what's happening. This isn't an event that is 3 days old. This is an event that is over a century old. Now, let me give you all a very brief synopsis of history for all the kids out there who don't know, because you don't. There's a reason why you need to know the history of China. You need to know the history of Japan. You need to know the history of Russia and the Soviet Union. Malcolm X was a student of revolutions. He was a student of revolutions. So when he saw the French Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, the American Revolution, you need to know what those were and what they were about. Not just from a social standpoint of how do you start revolutions or how they get conducted, but why? Because you are living in a world that is the result of those various revolutions and the attitudes resultant thereof. You need to know about your Asian history, specifically China and Japan, so that you realize that when you say the term warring states period, there was a warring states period in Japan and there was a warring states period in China. What? So before you pretend that you can speak about these places and Wu-Tang your way through it, by the way, are you aware that these are places that had civil wars that went on not for years, but for centuries? Not for years, but for centuries. Were you aware of that? Were you aware of that? That's important to know. If you're going to pretend that you know who you're going to, quote, support, and I'm like, actually, there's nobody to support here. I want to remind you of something. Recently, there was a video by Elon Musk where he said that, he was talking about how China sees itself. He was talking about how China sees itself. And that for over the course of the last 1,500, 2,000 years, China has been at the forefront of a lot of the world's innovations. When you take a look before the American Revolution, China was the world's biggest empire. Not for decades, but for centuries. China was the world's biggest empire. So when you talk about quote unquote superpowers, China was the world's superpower. since the fall of the Roman Empire, and really even if you take into account the Roman Empire, China was the world's superpower. So what China is doing today, as far as they're concerned, it is simply reassuming its place as the world's dominant power. Well, when you consider that, well, then that should inform what you do next. Let me go ahead and take you all through some sociology and some political science right here. If you don't know the history of these places, you make dumbass statements like Zelensky should do this, Trump should do that. I'm with these folk over here. Ooh, there's Nazis in that place. Ooh, there's white supremacists over there when there's white supremacists everywhere. If you don't know your history, you're not aware of this. If the only history that you know is the last 250 years on North American soil, you're so outrageously uninformed, you need to just go ahead and get your Dixie cup and your sippy straw and sit down. It's embarrassing. When you have a place like China that was a dominant power for centuries, that informed the culture for centuries, so much so to the point that whole percentages of the global population carried the blood of Genghis Khan himself because he had so many children. For those of you who didn't know, if you check your genealogy, there's a chance that you carry some blood from Genghis Khan because he had so many children. By the way, oh, you didn't know that? Okay. I didn't even name the Silk Road. I ain't even gotten all that there. I'm just saying, let's just stick to one man. That one man by himself has changed global genealogy. His bloodline changed global genealogy by itself. His descendants changed global genealogy by itself. Okay, then when you consider that that's what you're dealing with, to the point that his descendants were having civil wars among themselves, they had so many of them. By the time you get to the 20th century, when you take a look at your Hong Kong cinema and your Chinese movies, what are those about? Those were early 20th century period pieces, and it was always the same thing. Some martial arts movie about some cocky, disrespectful Japanese people or Japanese soldiers disrespecting some Chinese citizens, and then here comes Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan or whoever, and he starts kicking all their butts. But you don't understand why those movies are the way they are. Because after World War II, please understand, by the time we make it to the 20th century, China wasn't really China and Japan were isolationist societies. Japan's the one that cracks open first and then says, okay, let's get this global empire popping. China was sitting back, and China was just an agrarian society. China was not some huge, massive war maker anymore. They were a bunch of farmers. And as far as China is concerned, they were a peaceful farming nation that got jumped and attacked out of nowhere by a brutal imperialist Japan that came beating up on somebody who couldn't even defend themselves. They were no threat to Japan. They weren't at war with Japan and wound up getting their heads beat in by somebody they weren't even at war with. And that changed the way they saw everything. And that is why, if you don't know about the rape of Nanking, if you don't know about your World War II history, if you don't know about why they make those movies that they do, then you don't realize what I've been saying now for decades. China remembers what Japan did. China has an outrageously long memory, and China is spoiling for a rematch. China wants to have a rematch with Japan to reclaim their honor and their status and their credibility. And I don't think they're going to let this go until either Japan bends the knee or gets their heads taken off. But China wants that rematch with Japan to show the world we ain't to be messed with. Or at the very least, to reclaim their honor. Well, this makes things a little bit awkward. If you like getting your advanced electronics and you're mobbed up with the East and you got naval bases in Japan, oh, this creates a rather awkward situation, doesn't it? If you've made friends with the guys that the 1.5 billion nation people over here got a grudge against, Did you know your history? Well, America's policymakers do. The average person sitting up here talking garbage does not. So you can't speak on those things if you don't know the whole history of it. And if you do know the whole history of it, then you realize, ooh, hell, I don't know if I can stand by China or Japan. Because Japan might be cool today, but they got folks who say, hey, you got a bill. And the guys they were beating up on before are almost as technologically advanced as Japan, and they're carrying a grudge about the last century. Do you really want to be standing too close to Japan when the ill jump off? Which brings us to the next step. For those of you who do not know your Russian history, if you don't remember the Tsar, well, you can't remember the Tsar because you weren't born. But if you don't remember that originally these places in Asia and Europe were ruled by warlords, and I guess we call them kings. So in Russia, you had the Tsar's family. And needless to say, we will never really know whether they were really that good or that bad. We'll never know that because the winners say that they were Satan. Okay, well, the guys who won said, you're Satan. And they've told everybody else, you're Satan, and that's why we knocked you off. However, history is replete with telling us that the reason that revolutions happen, in the words of Malcolm X, he said that revolutions are always fought for the same reasons. The have versus the have-nots. The landless versus the landlords. I don't know how evil the landlord was. What I do know is you had more than the landless. I don't know how evil the haves were. I do know that you had more than the have-nots. And the have-nots, in the words of the sparrow from Game of Thrones, it said, we are the many, we the have-nots are the many, you the haves are the few. And when the many stop fearing the few, folks, when the many stop fearing the few, it's jumping off. The Bolshevik Revolution. Vladimir Lenin is jumping off. Mao Tse-tung is jumping off. Communist Cuba is jumping off. When the haves are no longer afraid of anything that, when the have-nots are no longer afraid of anything that the haves are going to do to you, it's getting ready to jump. The civil rights uprising here in America, the have-nots stopped fearing whatever the haves were going to do. Is jumping off. It's going down. And we just going to see what happens next because it's going down. Folks are done asking you to make changes. They're done asking. And when folks are done asking, it's coming to blows. Even if the person who throws the first blow is the one who gets knocked out, it's coming to blows. So if you don't know the history of Russia and then leading into World War I, World War II, if you don't know what happened, if you don't know how instrumental Poland is as a geographic location and that Russia has been invaded not once but twice through Poland, if you don't know this, then you don't understand why they're willing to slug it out over these areas. Oh, you're completely illiterate and ignorant of the history of the last century. Well, no wonder you're saying one person's name and not saying everything. You don't even know the history of it. But the people fighting do, while you are completely uninformed. A lot of folks here don't know where these places, Sweden and Finland, are in relation to Russia. It's like, oh, they're right across the street. With people not understanding that. So when you realize that after the Bolshevik Revolution, and then leading into Joseph Stalin, now that we have more documentation of, there was a paranoid lunatic, if you ever met one. And none of them were friends of ours, by the way. None of them were friends of ours. And they've been slugging it out over these satellite states and these lands ever since. But do you know why? People, your ability to maintain your nation state today is really going to be determined by three things. Number one, your population. Number two, your geographic access to water. And number three, your access to resources. Those are the three things that will determine whether or not you are going to be able to maintain or thrive as a prosperous nation state. I don't care who you are as a nation state. If I can strangle you, your military is a result of your population, access to water, and your resources. If I can strangle one of those things, your military ain't nothing. Folks, this is just basic political science 101. If you have no population, you have no nation. Anybody can walk in and take what you got. So first, you need people. Number two, you need access to water, not just water to drink, but water is the way in which you leave the land mass that you are on. It's great if you got plains, but you need access to an ocean, a lake, the ability to leave that geographic location, because that is what determines your ability to do international trade. Are you just a local place, or are you an international player? Hong Kong has always been an international player because of its geographic location. The Mediterranean has always been an international player and thus has always been subject to continuous wars because of its strategic geographic location. I can go down the list, but does it make more sense now? For those of you who didn't understand it before, it is not just about having potable water to drink. Your ability to do trade with the world is going to be determined by your ability to have access to the world's waterways. If I can choke you off from having access to the world's waterways, I can diminish or completely erase you as a world power. That is what the United States has been trying to do to China now for the last 40 years. What? For those of you who did not know, the South China Sea and everything else, you want to know why it is they're trying to box them in. That's the reason that they want to maintain Taiwan. Maintaining Taiwan as a sovereign state gives the United States and its allies the excuse to box China in and say that your influence only goes 200 miles from your shores. That's why China is building islands in the middle of the ocean to say, well, now that we own that island, we got another 200 miles out from where that is. So America has been trying to box them in. For those of you who didn't understand that, because clearly there's a bunch who don't. China doesn't have a bunch of natural resources until the electric car market jumped off. Thank you, Elon Musk. China realizes they're sitting on a lot of lithium. They're sitting on a lot of magnesium. Well, the prime material for making electric cars. We'll be damned. Our ship finally came in. We kind of fumbled the ball on that black gunpowder thing, but we got our second win. Let's go for it. And now China is the world's main source. Well, is one of the biggest repositories of that. Just in time for the electric car revolution. Just in time. Yeah, you're not going to be able to hold them back when you got this huge market for an economy coming into place and they are primed in position for it. So you're going to have to limit how China moves. You got to limit, make sure they can't move around the way they've been moving around. So China said, damn that. They're talking to folks in the Virgin Islands. This is why China building roads in the Virgin Islands and Caribbean and South America and Central America is so threatening. China is like, we ain't going to be boxed in. We're not going to be boxed in. You want to make us a Southern Asian superpower. We are going to be a global superpower, and you're not boxing us in. Because if you can box somebody in, then you get to determine who and what they will be. That is what white supremacy has done to us in the United States. What Dr. Claude Anderson said, they got us locked and boxed. When you can do that to a people, then you can determine who and what they will be, including to determine that they will be nothing. If I can lock you down and limit you, that's why that's important. And that is why that is important to the former Soviet Union. These people are addicted to empire because they do not wish to be restrained. And other people that want to control them wish to restrain them. Vladimir Putin has said, we'll be damned. We watched the United States sit up here and conquer the Middle East over the course of the last 25 years. Let me grab these former Soviet Union states back. Then you realize that a bunch of them are sitting on a bunch of natural resources. But that's not it. Because it goes even further. For the lead pipe kids who didn't understand. For the lead pipe kids who didn't understand. Folks, you do remember that Alaska used to belong to what is today Russia, right? What? How many of you were not aware that, by the way, the state of Alaska, that used to belong to Russia? For those of you who were unaware, Russia owned huge amounts of real estate on the other side of the Bering Strait. Russia only in the last century receded back across the Bering Strait. Alaska used to be Russia's. For those of you in your schools didn't teach you that, Alaska used to be Russia. What I'm saying is, well, do you realize that in the Russian psyche, Alaska is not some faraway place. Alaska is a former province. So your attitude toward Alaska is not necessarily Russia and the former Soviet Union's attitude toward Alaska. Now, to make this come into full relief for you here, the Arctic Circle. Over the course of the last century, there have been treaties that basically say the Arctic Circle and whatnot don't really belong to anybody. But we're seeing that apparently folks got different ideas. There is a scramble now for the Arctic Circle. Russia is building as many icebreakers because of global warming and its impact in the Arctic Circle. You've got more access than ever. We think the Arctic Circle may have the largest repositories of methane and crude oil in the world, but up until now, it's been impossible to get to. But with the melting of the polar ice caps, it's becoming easier and more, it's becoming more of a possibility that you can tap those things. And Russia has 22 icebreakers? They've built 22 icebreakers, I think, with a dozen more under construction. Icebreakers. They are letting the world know we going full bore to stake out that Arctic Circle. Do you realize how close to the United States you are when you're in the Arctic Circle? If you're looking at the Arctic Circle on a flat map, you don't get it. If you look at the Arctic Circle on a globe, you realize just how frighteningly close those Russian icebreakers are to American soil, which is why President Trump been talking about Greenland, although that's not really a realistic possibility. If they do that, it'll be a lot worse than you think. But I can understand the reason that they're saying that, because take a look at what Russia's doing. Oh yeah, one more thing. Russia ain't the only one. China is up there too. Damn! Russia's up there. China's up there. Australia think they up there. They really ain't. The Swedes, but Russia and China are the two big ones trying to stake out their claim in that Arctic Circle. And here's the point I'm making. Take a look at the pathology and the behaviorisms of China and Russia right now. China is trying to claw back land. They're clawing it back from India. They're clawing it back from Pakistan. They're clawing it back from Russia. They want to get their hands on the South China Sea and have control and dominance of it. They want Taiwan back. People, they're in the Arctic Circle. They're the Belt and Road Initiative. They want to have inroads around the world. Why? What are you planning to do with all of that? What are we going to do with all that? What do you plan on doing with that? What's that going to be? Folks, like any fighter, if you're gonna go to war against the biggest, toughest, baddest dude on the block, you're gonna have to eat your Wheaties, you're gonna have to eat your protein, you're gonna have to get up early in the morning and work out, you're gonna have to train, you're gonna have to weight train, you're gonna have to eat right, you're gonna have to have the best doctors, you're gonna need a lot of resources. And you can't go scrambling for those resources the day before you call him out. If you plan on having a title bout with somebody, you're going to have to get your resources together way before you ever call him out to take him on. And if you are going to call out the United States of America, the world's war maker, the largest, most expensive, most advanced military on the planet, if you plan on going to war against them, and the United States has been continually, perpetually at war for the last century and a half, and you want to go up against them, you got to come ready. You're going to need oil, lithium, diamonds. You're going to need access to all these materials in a way in which you can't be cut off from them. So they can't cut off your supply lines. You're going to have access to everything you need in a manner in which they can't cut you off, which means you have to have multiple sources to draw from. And you have to have firm control. Those have to be firm allies before you go do this. Well, what do you know? China is trying to claw back as much real estate, natural resources, and everything else that it can. The former Soviet Union is trying to claw back as much real estate, natural resources, and everything else that they can. Don't you see that these people are gearing up for war? For those of you who have lived, those of you in the military who lived during the sissy era of the last 30 years, you're not in combat anywhere, certainly not in a large combat theater. We haven't really had that, technically speaking, since the Vietnam War, but I'll go ahead and spot you Iraq. But since Iraq, you've had, quote, military operations against woefully underfunded, woefully under-resourced opponents who couldn't really fight you one-to-one. America spent the better part of the 20th century attempting to avoid direct conflict with the former Soviet Union. Anybody who saw the Battle of Stalingrad knows that. They've been trying to avoid it. You don't want to have a one-to-one fight. Not really. Forget nuclear weapons. Even with conventional weapons, you don't really want a one-to-one fight. You don't really want that. So they've been spending their time shadow boxing with each other, facing off here, saber rattling, but ain't nobody really threw no left hook at nobody just yet. But you can see these other people are getting tired of the kabuki theater. So that brings us to Vladimir Zelensky, who is sitting on an expensive piece of real estate with a lot of natural resources. It's very big and has a lot of natural resources on it. Yeah, they want that back. Yeah, Russia wants you to hand that back over on account of the fact that they're looking forward to possibly having to have a slugfest with the United States. Yeah, I got to get that back. I got to get that back. Georgia, too, by the way, the nation, not the state, people. Yeah, we got to get you back, too. Yeah, we getting ready. We gearing up for this fight with the U.S., so we got to get all that back. All that got to come back. Doesn't matter that you don't want to fight it. We getting ready for that. And when you think about it, it's accurate. The United States has been trying to box Russia in since the fall of the Soviet Union. That's why every time they add somebody to NATO, Russia's like, hey, I thought y'all said y'all wasn't going to do that. They monitor because the Warsaw Pact is done, but the NATO alliance is still in effect, or at least until this week it was. And Russia's like, hey, wait a minute. Y'all wasn't supposed to be adding nobody else to NATO. All you can do is the countries around us, if they're part of NATO, you got us boxed in. You got us boxed in. And the United States is like, yeah, sure do. And then China looked around and said, hey, wait a minute, the U.S. got us boxed in too. Hell, they won't even let us buy microchips. They got us locked and boxed. A whole damn continent got us locked in and boxed in. So, needless to say, everybody's taking a look at their circumstances saying, all right, look here. We about to flip the table over. It's about to get uncivil up in here. We about to flip this table over. And that's how you end up with Vladimir Zelensky. Sitting in an area there that if Russia is allowed to achieve its aspirations of clawing back its former satellite states, then you have rebuilt and reconstituted the former Soviet Union, which is what Vladimir Putin has plainly said he desires to do. And for those of you who did not live through the Cold War, I'm one of the Cold War babies, we all remember what the hell that was like. And that was no damn picnic. Only now you will have Russia and China. Well, Jason, what does that matter? Because you and I are prisoners of a consequence of history. We did not choose to be born in the United States, but I'll be damned, we are here, and they've got a bunch of folks who racked up grudges against them, and you and me are standing right here. Vladimir Putin don't give a damn if you are not some flag-waving patriot. He don't care about you being black. He doesn't care about you being American. You just in the wrong damn place at the wrong damn time. You're not one of his people. Folks here who get their news and information from the alt-right and don't realize that, by the way, this is an all-villains cast. There's nobody here who supports our interests. You take a look at Africa. They're all over the place over there, and ain't nobody supporting Africa's interests. The Belt and Road Initiative is just to keep them in debt. There's nobody supporting their interests. When do you realize? When you start realizing that you're in a giant game of global chess. You're in a giant game of global chess. And it is not in your interest to take anybody's side and start talking like some jackass puppet. Rupert Murdoch and Fox News have to take a side. They're global. They're too damn rich. They got to take a side. Elon Musk has to take a side. The white bankers on Wall Street have to take a side. You and I don't. No, we do not. We do not have to take a side. You're a damn fool if you do. You can't take a side with somebody who has not declared you to be their ally, dummy. For anybody who wants to claim one side or the other. Pro-Zelensky, pro-Trump, pro-China, pro-Russia. You're an idiot. None of them have declared themselves to be our ally. So what are you supporting exactly? What is it they're going to win? What is it that you lose? There's the bigger question. What is it that you lose? Whether the Russians take Ukraine or whether the Russians don't take Ukraine, what do you lose either way? You didn't ask yourself that. Because there is something that you lose. Actually, there is. There is something that you lose. But by the way, I would like to remind you all of a time-honored tradition in white supremacist history. For the slow bus children who do not think and cannot think because anything beyond 2 syllables loses them. Folks, understand something. What has been the practice of white supremacy now for over the last century and has worked out stunningly in most regards, when they go into an area and they find 2 groups, when they want to conquer an area, what do? They equally arm both sides. They empower both sides. They don't take a side. They empower both sides. So what I'm telling you is that George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones, in that equation, the United States is not Westeros. They're not Essex. They're not the North. They're not the Iron Islands. The United States is the Iron Bank.
And deal with it.
The United States is the Iron Bank. In reality, they've dominated everybody. All of you are their subjects. It doesn't matter who is quote unquote on the throne, because anybody on the throne is beholden to the Iron Bank. And if the guy on the throne does not do what the Iron Bank wants them to do, then the Iron Bank simply funds somebody to overthrow him. But the person that they fund to overthrow them, they say, by the way, you owe us a bill. You owe us what he didn't pay us, and you owe us whatever we gave you to overthrow him. And by the way, if you do not pay the debt, we will fund somebody to overthrow you the way we funded you to overthrow him. And everybody knows the deal. That's the United States. The United States is not playing the game of this is our buddy and this is our pal. White supremacy around the world, from Europe to America, because it's not really America that runs that. But white supremacy has always funded both sides. People, those of you who know your history, World War I, you know that. Hell, World War II, you know that. And in the current state of affairs today, they fund both sides. And then got folks sitting up here talking about they've taken a side. Hey, this guy over here is the dummy. He's out of his place. Hey, this guy over here is rude. He's out of his place. And I'll be damned, they've taken both sides while you're trying to figure out how to take one. And then coming to my chat room showing your ignorance on a global level. And then mad because I'm not as dumb as you are. I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm not as stupid as you. This guy is running both sides of the board. I just recognize it for what it is. I haven't taken my eye off the ball, and I'm not going to pretend that it's something that it isn't. Donald J. Trump is not our friend. He's not our buddy. And to the extent that he has some policies that we can agree with, that doesn't mean a damn thing. The Democrats have some policies we can agree with. They have some. What they don't have are the ones we brought to them. They have some policies we can agree with. They do some things that we support. They do some things that we like. Yeah, that's the damn game they play, is to flick some crumbs off the table and say, here, I'm going to do some things you like. Okay, but the major revolutionary life-changing things we need, now that's the part they don't do. They make a conscious effort to deny doing that one. That's the part that's missing. And you and I have to get comfortable with the idea that we're not buddies with none of them. The Arabs got this down to an art today. The Arabs ain't buddies with no damn body. Business with all, entangling alliances, as Thomas Jefferson I think said it was, with none. The Arabs are like, whoever in the hell benefiting us, that's the way we going. And they've got alliances with both sides. They're not beholden to anyone, nor will they let you make them beholden to anybody. Meanwhile, you come over here and Negroes are so damn used to team sports and the NFL and the NBA, everything becomes a corollary to that. Everything becomes an extension of that. I've been yelling for decades now, stop this garbage of treating politics like a football game, because that's what the political parties and the national media and the special interest groups want you to do. They want you to be emotionally invested in feelings, but not socially invested in outcomes. So if the Democrats win, quote, win, you tell yourself that you have won, even though nothing's changed. And your job is to be bold enough, to be big enough and bold enough to tell everybody our established position is that we see all of you and we are not settling on anyone. We have no permanent friends and we have no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. Now, that's the only thing of permanence that we have. To the extent that you are able to promote our interests, we are looking to do business with you. If the day comes that you are no longer able to promote our interests, either because you do not want to or you are not able to, that doesn't mean we're going to go to war with you, but certainly we are going to have to adjust our posture to you on account of the fact that you are not able to promote our interests. And promoting our interests is what we owe to the people. For those of you who did not know, by the way, and I've been saying this for years, you're starting to have some media outlets and some YouTubers actually start to acknowledge that this is correct. I've been saying it now for a decade, that this continent ain't big enough for the both of them. You have Russia, which wishes to reassert itself as a superpower, and you have China that wishes to regain itself as a superpower. And guess what? There are borders between Russia and China that they are currently in dispute over right now. And before it's over, don't be surprised if Russia and China have a falling out. Do not be surprised if Russia and China have a falling out, a Cold War, or something of that nature amongst themselves. On account of the fact that, by the way, there is a disputed border and border disputes between Russia and China. Now, they're going to try to act nice and put on a brave face, but China is looking at that border like, yeah, I got to get that. I got to get that. Yeah. Alliance, BRICS, we got it. I got to get this, though. I got to have this. When you take a look out there by Siberia and whatnot, yeah, I got to get that. Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, all that. I got to have it. I got to have it. Yes, and they fought before. Yes, they sure have. They sure have. They absolutely have. For the folks who don't know their history. By the way, yeah, they actually have before. They sure have. How quickly you forget. None of these people are our friends. None of these folks are our allies. None of them have asked to align with us. None of them have done that. China gave lip service talking about American racism only to the extent they could stare down white society. China has not lifted a damn finger to do anything for us. We could use a Belt and Road Initiative over here. I'm cool with that. We could use a Belt and Road Initiative over here. I'm cool with that. That's perfectly fine by me. But you don't see them offering that. While Trump wants to change the EB-5 visa program that I talked about in my documentary Gentrified. Now they want to jack up the price on that. But by the way, they can slide them dollars over here. I wouldn't be upset about that. But China does not want that either. China does not want that either. China does not want that either because China couldn't help but notice that when American black men show up on Chinese females, and the Chinese females kind of start forgetting they Chinese. Damn! So the Chinese government couldn't help but notice that. That's why they're like with the NBA, Wilson a player over there. We don't really want you NBA players hanging out over here too much. We don't really want you NBA players coming over here and hanging out too much. Yeah, y'all doing too much. You're doing the most and you're doing too much. So we ain't really trying to have a two-way street in that regard. Y'all do too much. You do too much. We got 1.5 billion Chinese. We ain't trying to have 1 billion Chinese and 500 million mixed kids. We ain't really trying to do that one. So yeah, we stiff arm, distance. We'll give lip service. We send Chinese men down to Africa. We ain't letting the Africans coming up here. Hold on a minute. Hold up. So please understand here, folks. Don't get it twisted because of the last election. Do not be deceived because of the last election. The last election was for the purposes of demonstrating that this is a new political paradigm. That's the purpose of the last election. Brief aside here, please don't forget when Frank Lucas went to Asia. Please don't forget that. When Frank Lucas was in Asia, niggas came up. When niggas went to Asia, niggas was running things and niggas came up. When you were finally in a position where white folk could not control you and dominate you. When we were actually allowed a free market. Yeah, the dope game was a free market. You can hate it if you want to.
And deal with it, nigga.
When we're allowed to operate in a free damn market, next thing you know, the white folk ain't running it, we running it. When we actually are allowed to compete in a free market, that's how we know that American capitalism is not a free market, because we look around saying, by the way, every time that we've been allowed an actual true free market, we dominate. So if we're not dominating, we know this is rigged. On account of the fact that, by the way, we dominate everything else. How the hell are we not dominating here? You must be rigging it. Oh yeah, you are. You must be rigging it. Yeah. You are. Yeah, you are. That's how you know it. That's how we know. Knowing your history about this keeps you from saying dumb things. Knowing your history keeps you from saying dumb things. When you're not saying dumb things, when you're not saying stupid things, that keeps you from going around spreading idiocy and pretending that you have a strategy. That's not a strategy. And in the way folks are doing things here today, they are not actually thinking because they can't. So I'm giving you a brief but brutal reminder that, by the way, hey, stupid, we ain't got no side except our own. And to the extent that Donald Trump can be a pawn on the board that promotes our interests, the interest that we're showing today is that, by the way, as the quintessential swing vote in American society, we will withdraw our support. That's what we showed people. We will withdraw our support. Now, that was a move that they did not expect. But I also want to remind you that there's an internal game going on as well. Please understand, the first people that we had to revolt against were the old niggas.
Damn! Nigga, please.
Those are the first folk we had to revolt against. We had to show the old niggas it's a new day, and that we are not asking power, we are taking power and assuming power, and y'all old niggas got to go. You fumbled the damn ball, you got stuck on interracial sexual access and drugs, and that ain't us. We're about black empowerment, and you are in the damn way. That's what we own now. The old niggas got to get off the block because we are about black empowerment, and the bottom line is your old ass is in the damn way. You are comfortable kissing white people's asses. And I'm saying it just like it is. Ain't nothing like a bunch of old niggas sit around bringing the most racist ass white person they ever saw. They can't wait to give him a hug and tell him about the love of Jesus and get hugged up and booed up with him. They can't wait to do that. We come along putting boots to asses of white supremacists, and the old niggas who swore they were walking with the damn Black Panthers, those ones I'm like, y'all young folks need to pull your pants up and sit down and stop making all that damn noise. Those are the ones told us that we were the problem, that we need to stop making so much noise, and we need to stop causing so many problems, and we need to discover the love of Jesus. They're the ones who told us don't count the score of what they've done or what they haven't done. They were the ones telling you and me that we don't have to vote for anything. And then this microphone here in the new black media, this was the microphone that informed everybody. By the way, did you add up what the old niggas are getting? Because they are actually getting something. They desire a peaceful death. And what is it the Democrats are offering them? Well, I'll be damned. The Democrats are offering them Medicare, Medicaid, diabetes medication, all the things you need to accommodate a peaceful death. Well, I'll be damned. There it is. They're not voting for empowerment or prosperity. They go listen to Creflo Dollar and TD Jakes lie to them about this and say, don't worry, Jesus will take care of the empowerment and prosperity. Vote Democrats so you can get your insulin. Vote Democrats so you can get your prescription bills. Anybody who's been to Walmart and walked by the pharmacy section at 12 noon, you see it all the damn time there. A bunch of old niggas. I said it. A bunch of old niggas standing around talking, conversating like a bunch of drunks on the street corner at the liquor store. Y'all see it every damn time. Half of them can't stand. They gotta sit there on them little old benches. But you see them when you go there. 12 noon, 1 o'clock, because they gotta go out for lunch. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there they all sitting out there. Like the elderly version of the young niggas at the loitering at the liquor store that they are. Now it's the senior citizen version. They're all sitting there comparing prescriptions, talking about which dog has died, talking about what college the grandkids are at. That's what they're doing. Everybody here's seen it. They're like, oh, damn, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, and this is what the Democrats are literally selling. Hey, you know, I mean, we ain't really got to do reparations with them old niggas right there. I mean, we bring down them prescription pills. They worrying about the prescription pills. And which really means they're worried about their damn selves. It really means they're worried about their damn selves. They're worried about themselves. That's the point I want you to keep in mind. So when we showed up, the first thing we had to do was clear the damn block off. Now the cable television networks, because they are arms of the Democrat Party, they were so desperate to promote the lie that the next generation couldn't wait to vote for Joe Biden and the Democrat plantation pimps. They were determined to promote that. And then they woke up since Trayvon Martin, it's been falling off a damn cliff. This microphone was telling you this because it is so essential. So many of our so-called academics, the people who can actually analyze these things, they go to work for Merrill Lynch, they go to work for Chase Bank, they go to work for Goldman Sachs, and we don't have folk who actually know how to do that. By the way, I'm going to ban anybody who talks about XRP or anything else. So since you want to talk about something else, anybody who talks about anything other than what we're talking about here tonight, you're going to get banned because we got some white supremacist trolls. And then, what you actually have are some of the illegal aliens, some of the anchor babies. They see us talk about this and they want to sell their crypto scams. So if I see you talking about crypto, we're just going to assume you in here crypto scamming the Prince of Zamunda, the Nigerian Prince of Zamunda scam. If you're hoping somebody's going to send you a DM, no, we're not interested. Blacks who defy, you need to give me a call up on Zoom. The link is at the top of the chat room. Blacks who defy needs to give me a call up on Zoom. You got 2 minutes to be on Zoom. Very glad you said that. You got 2 minutes to be on Zoom. So please understand, there's a whole bunch of folks here who are worried and scared, terrified of what we're doing and what we're saying, terrified that we're adopting our own code of conduct and our own agenda, mortified by the fact that we're not looking to promote anything else they doing right there. We done seen to everybody else. Please understand, we as the foundation have been seeing to every damn body else for the last century. People who had nothing but outright contempt for us, we've been holding it down for them for half a damn century. I mean, for a century. What the hell did that get us? What in the hell did that get us? Let me go ahead and get over here on Zoom. I got Blacks Who Defy over here on Zoom. Blacks Who Defy, go ahead and make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on for me so that we don't have any trolling issues. So make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on for me. I'll give you 5 seconds for that. Okay, permanent vacation for you. So let's go ahead and ban him. So he says he doesn't want to turn his camera on for us here to make sure we don't have any trolling issues. So let's go ahead and ban him. As I said, folks, it doesn't take very damn long. Doesn't take very long at all. Folks, there's a whole bunch of people out here who are scared of us developing our own ideology. Our own ideology scares them. They are worried about us having that. In the chat room, Mediendo, you need to give me a call up on Zoom. You got 2 minutes. Mediendo's got 2 minutes here to go ahead and give us a call up on Zoom. We'll give you 2 minutes here. You've got 2 minutes to go ahead and give us a call up here on Zoom. We're going to give them 2 minutes here. Y'all got to understand, this upsets a lot of people, what we're talking about here tonight. A lot of them, whether they're anchor babies or not, whether they're white supremacist ass kissers or not, this scares them. Hearing a message like this that says, hey, you will not be extended the opportunity to ass kiss. Don't y'all know there are a whole bunch of black folk out there, both from immigrant and domestic backgrounds, who are terrified to hear us say those words to them, that we will not provide you with white asses to kiss. See, there's a lot of folks who think that's their trump card, pardon the expression. There's a lot of folks who think that's going to be their trump card, that they'll understand when they talk about 4D chess, they think the sides are, okay, I'll play against white society on one side when it's convenient, and I'll play against black folk when it's convenient. So they see themselves as playing against us. Very important for us to identify the individuals who operate that way. Please understand, that's what a whole bunch of folks are trying to do. That's what a whole bunch of folks are trying to do here. They're trying to see if they can figure out how do we play against the rest of you. So you got to understand, people who've been kissing ass, folks who've been kissing ass for, rice from Sally Struthers overseas. They've been kissing ass for a green card. They've been kissing ass for a scholarship. They've been kissing ass for a job. When they hear us talk like this, they're like, hey, you gonna take away my white ass to kiss? I need to have a damn trump card. You're gonna take away the white ass for me to kiss. And I'm trying to play both sides against the middle. They don't want us to have this conversation where we start paperwork checking. They don't want us to have a conversation where we checking paperwork and saying what set you claiming, where you from, and what set you claiming. Now, they don't want us having that conversation. Please understand, it's not just Officer Tatum and the rest of these clowns and coons on YouTube. You got a whole bunch of Negroes who listen to them, and they identify with that. And they spread around like the cancer and the disease that they are. And they've deluded themselves into thinking that they come over here. Well, anybody who isn't big up in the Democrats, oh, you must love Trump. No, Trump's candidacy, we see how we can use it as a pawn or as a gambit, but we do not support him. Well, who you support? I support the same candidate that I have always supported. I support black empowerment. I support that. And whoever is in favor of black empowerment, that's who I support. I support that. I don't support anything else. And it just so happens that because the Democrats were in a very weakened position, and our lack of support sent them to the hell house. Our job was to demonstrate to them that we are different from previous generations and that we are not going to operate the way that they did. So you coming to us talking about a damn pat on the head, that's not going to appeal to us. That was the point of the 2024 election, was in order for us to show America that there is a political and social realignment in black society and that we are no longer following the civil rights generation's ideology or playbook. We're not going with any of it. We are casting that off. Now, that's the shock to the system that they were not expecting and they were hoping would not happen. They thought we were going to be on board, and we showed them in absolutely no ambiguous terms that we are not. We're not on board. Well, Trump's white supremacists. You're all white supremacists. You are all equally as bad. None of you is better than the other. None of you. You are all equally bad. Now, that was the response they were not expecting. Well, that's the response you give when you have stopped playing the game. See, when you're still playing the game, you start adding up pros and cons and X's and O's. With this person right here, you got. I mean, a little bit over here, right here. Lesser two evils. When you stop playing the game, you look at both of them and say, yeah, you're both devils. Both of you are demons. Both of you are devils. One of you is smiling at me. The other one is scowling at me, but both of you are devils. Both of you. You're both demons. Now, when you look at them and say that, then they realize, I'll be damned, the jig is up. The jig is up. Now, you will realize and understand that you are properly aligned when that's the response you give when political parties, political operatives, social groups come up to you, that you are 10 toes down and grounded in black empowerment and you are listening whether or not they're promoting our interests. If they're not promoting our interests, then how do I support them? I can't, and I won't. And no amount of you begging and knuckling under is going to cause that to change. This is a new way of doing things. The civil rights generation was looking to build a big ass tent. Somebody tell me, what the hell did we get for our big ass tent? What was the reward that we got for having a big tent? We invited in every damn body. We held a barbecue for every damn body. We did what black folk do at the church. We invited in everybody. We welcomed everybody. We tried to collaborate with everybody. We put a chair at the table for everybody. We brought in everybody. You gave up your sons and daughters to everybody. And what do we have to show for it? After doing all of that for a century, by the way, what do we have to show for it? Well, that went bad quick now, didn't it? That went real bad real fast. Let me go ahead and get back over here on Zoom. I've got Tracy here on Zoom. All right, Tracy. What is on your mind, Tracy?
How are you, Jason? You don't have me on camera, do you?
Oh, Lord. No, nobody else sees you except me, but you got to hold that thing closer because I can barely hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay, Tracy, what's on your mind?
Okay. I'm You know what? You are speaking facts on everything you're saying, brother. I'm just up there screaming, watching my television. But I wanted to let you know. You notice Zelensky met with the CBC before the election. He met with Raphael Warnock. He met with Cory Booker. He met with several CBC members before the election. And I don't know what that was about to gain support for his country, but you know the CBC can't help us. So I need to say you were right about them old niggas. You were right. You were absolutely right.
They did that because, of course, they just bowed to the Democrats. Joe Biden says we're going to meet with Zelensky. Zelensky's our man. And the Congressional Black Caucus just rubber stamps whatever the Democrats tell them. And here's my problem. In the Republican Party, the Tea Party was willing to hold up Republican legislation if it wasn't in line with what they wanted. The MAGA folks are willing to hold up Republican legislation if it's not in line with their constituents' interests. You have a whole so-called Congressional Black Caucus that ain't demanding a damn thing from the Democrats. If the Democrats are the majority and the Democrats are in power, our so-called black elected representatives are supposed to be sticking them up and saying, hey, you got to deliver tangibles for our people. You are in power. You got to deliver. They don't make these excuses to the Ukrainians. They don't make these excuses to LGBT. They don't make these excuses to Israel. They don't make these excuses to Europe. We show up and we're the ones who put them there, and it's nothing but damn excuses. So here's the new way under the sun. We have to have a culture of talking back. We have to have a culture of getting in their faces and talking back at them and saying, hey, we're dropping the polite tones. We're not going to pretend that this is okay. We ain't going to sit here and hope for the best. If you don't talk to us correct the first time, we going to check you right where you are. But we're not going to sit there and pretend that what you just said is okay. That's what we've been doing up to this damn point. This is the new way under the sun. If you don't say the right thing, we talking back. And it's going to make it very awkward. Ooh, we need to be united. That's right. You need to unite with us, sir. You're absolutely right. You need to unite with us. And right now, your ass is hella off code. That's been the difference. So the Congressional Black Caucus has really just been a Democrat Black Caucus. And we don't need a Democrat Black Caucus. I don't care if they're Democrat, Republican, Martian. I don't care where they came from. They need to be defending our interests. And if they cannot do that, or should I say if they will not do that, then the first thing you do is start showing that you will no longer support them. Now, here's what they say. Here's why Joy Reid got upset. I talked about this last night. They got upset because they said we're separatists. What they really meant was that you're undermining us. Well, the way I see it is you're undermining yourself. That's the way I see it, because I am not obligated to support you. Your job is to convince me to support you. I'm not obligated to support you. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not undermining you. You trying to undermine us, I'm not going to let you do it. Now you're undermining yourself. We're not supposed to speak openly. We're supposed to keep all of our grievances behind closed doors, and we mumble to ourselves and be upset to ourselves, but we don't say it publicly because the media doesn't want to have black faces and black voices and black YouTubers openly saying these things in large numbers because you can't hide that. That's what they're upset and mad about, and going forward, that is the way it will be. I'll let you have the last word.
Jason, thank you, because I'm saying the same thing, brother. I am sitting there saying the same thing. I was like, damn. I mean, these are some old niggas. I can't rock with them, and they really did that to us. I mean, yeah. I try to refrain from being angry, not angry, but I'm just annoyed. I'm so annoyed right now. They've been, It's just like, you know what, brother, you speak truth to power. Love you, and I'm going to keep listening. Thank you so much for being out there preaching the same thing that my thoughts are, my ideas. I think the same way. There's nothing wrong with me. I know we all think this way. Yeah, they got a rude awakening coming. Yeah, and they're done. They're done. They're absolutely done. But thank you, Jason.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Look here, folks, the only thing I'm doing is giving you all an outlet so everybody's on the same damn page. You're not crazy. You haven't been crazy all this time. It wasn't just you. We have been put in a situation where so-called black media and black publications make you feel like you're the crazy one, that everybody else is on some different page. All we've done now is we have a national forum. We can get together and you can see you're not crazy. You're not nuts. It's not just you. A whole bunch of other folks see the exact same thing that you see, and they see it for what it is. They see it for what it is. Now we can talk to each other without the damn filters, and folks are getting real angry because we can talk without the filters. That makes a big ass difference when you can do that. That makes a huge difference when you can talk without the filters. Conversation goes radically different. It goes radically different from what they're used to it being. Which brings me to my next point here, by the way. I talked about this last night. You want to talk about folks who are not on your side. You want to talk about folks who are not with you. I talked about Andrew Cuomo. By the way, I'm going to have to do something here in just a few moments here. New York, stand up. All my people who live in New York State. All my people who live in New York State. If you live in New York State, I want you to give me the fire emoji in the chat room. Well, no, give me the apple emoji. If you live in New York State, give me the apple emoji in the chat room. All my New York State people, give me the apple emoji in the chat room. I want to see all my New York people because I want something today. All my New York people, give me the apple emoji tonight. You don't have to call in or nothing, but hit me up with the apple emoji in the chat room. If you're in New York State, represent. Andrew Cuomo, as I said, he announced running for mayor of New York City. And there was a piece on Channel 6 up there, Fair Use Fox 5 rather. Fair Use Fox 5, Fair Use. I wanted you all to see something here.
After announcing his run, Andrew Cuomo hit the campaign trail. The former governor making a pitch on why he should be the next mayor to lead New York City. Fox 5's Morgan Mackay is live in the newsroom with who's lining up behind Cuomo and who is speaking out against him tonight. Morgan.
Arthur, former Governor Andrew Cuomo mounting his political comeback, but still avoiding questions.
Are you ready to save our city?
In front of a crowd of hundreds of union members, former Governor Andrew Cuomo officially mounting his political comeback in his first public campaign stop.
We will do everything.
Well, isn't that interesting? There were hundreds of people there, and he's going to the unions first. Very, very interesting he would say that. Very, very interesting he would do that. I wonder if there's any extra news in there. Stay tuned, sports fans.
We can to fight to save this city. We are not going to let it go down.
Cuomo focusing his speech on public safety and affordability, also nabbing the endorsement of both the Carpenters Union and the Painters Union.
This is working man and women's movement to take back the city. And we are with Andrew Cuomo all the way.
However, outside,
hell no, Cuomo!
Multiple groups are working to remind voters of the scandals that encompass.
Oh, there's a hell of a slogan for you, isn't it? Hell no, Cuomo. Oh, what an unfortunate last name that it rhymes with hell no. Oh, this is awkward.
Side.
Hell no, Cuomo!
Multiple groups are working to remind voters of the scandals that encompassed Cuomo's final years in office.
We believe the women.
Cuomo shot to nab.
Oh, we believe the women. She channeled her Kamala Harris right there, didn't she? I believe them women. Here's the real thing. If Cuomo makes it through the primaries and whatnot, she'll probably be the first thing out there. I'm looking at that nose. Where you people from? She'll be the first one out there talking about, well, you know, we can't vote for Curtis Lee. Well, we gon' back Cuomo. So keep that in mind.
Women.
Cuomo shot to national fame when the COVID-19 pandemic swept through the state in 2020, but things quickly turned after Cuomo ordered that nursing homes could not turn away COVID-positive nursing home patients. His administration later undercounting the number of nursing home patients who died of COVID. Then in 2021, after numerous women accused Cuomo of sexual harassment, Attorney General Letitia James released a report supporting 11 women's claims. When the New York York State Assembly announced they were going to start impeachment proceedings against Cuomo, he announced his resignation in August of 2021.
The best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing.
Cuomo has not taken questions since announcing his bid for mayor and avoided them again on Sunday.
Governor, how do you expect to regain the trust of voters?
Some of those attending the rally were in full support.
I like Cuomo. I like what he stands for. He keeps us informed.
Okay. All right. We found a Cuomo supporter here, but just listen to this next part, folks.
Attending the rally were in full support.
I like Cuomo. I like what he stands for. He keeps us informed.
But some other attendees tell Fox 5 that they were asked to attend the rally by their union. One union member telling me he's still on the fence.
I'm waiting to see. You know what I'm saying? I want to see what his options are.
What? Oh, didn't expect that one now, did you? So the folks out there wondering is the black male vote. Everybody tried to act as if to remember for the last decade, the media was so concerned about neutralizing that black male vote, making the world believe the black male vote did not exist, that the black male vote was irrelevant. It was all about the black female vote. The black female vote. Ain't no black male vote. Don't worry about no black male vote. Ain't no black male vote. 2024 rolls around. You know we need that black male vote, right? They always needed it because the black male vote is the leading indicator, as I have said now for over a decade. Your political analysts from the corporations did not say this. The black male vote is the leadership vote. We are the leading indicator. The black female vote is the lagging indicator. So when you see the men break off and take the leadership, leadership isn't a majority position. I've never worried about not being in the majority because leadership is not a majority position. All we got to do is stand firm and make sure that what we're saying is accurate. So the men broke off first and said, yeah, we gonna wait to see what you offering. The men are a leading indicator. The females have been a lagging indicator. And the more the men have broken off in that direction, the females are coming up later. And that's exactly what it is.
I like Cuomo. I like what he stands for. He keeps us informed.
But some other attendees tell Fox 5 that they were asked to attend the rally by their union. One union member telling me he's still on the fence.
I'm waiting to see. You know what I'm saying? I want to see what his options are.
Mayoral candidates, Mayor Eric Adams and City Comptroller Brad Lander, both reacting to Cuomo officially in the race.
We can't hide in the shadows. We had to come out and give our real positions, and so I'm looking forward to it. This is campaign season.
What we did not hear was serious solutions for the problems New Yorkers are actually facing.
Now, Arthur, I am now hearing from multiple people, including one rank-and-file carpenter union member who's been on the job for more than 15 years, that many of their members were told that this rally today would not be about endorsing Cuomo, and some left as soon as they saw what the rally was about.
Oh, my. Yeah, buddy, just in case anybody tells themselves it's a shoo-in, just in case anybody tells themselves, oh, don't worry, everybody gonna fall in line. I'm telling you right now, anyone who says that Andrew Cuomo is going to be a walk-in to be mayor of New York has not caught up to what the public sentiment actually is. Anybody, if you can say the name Mario Cuomo with reverence, that's old nigga talk, even in white society. Folks, Mario Cuomo is the governor, we're talking about decades, man. Come on now. That's a lifetime ago. That's a lifetime ago. So just keep in mind, the folks who are still hailing back to that era, you sound like the Bushes. You sound like the Bush family and the Clintons. So anybody, and by the way, let me remind you, Andrew Cuomo is the one who ushered in congestion pricing. What? He's the one who targeted Lower Manhattan with congestion pricing. So if you love having all those new tolls in New York, by the way, that was his brainchild. That wasn't Kathy Hochul's idea. She was just the one who spearheaded it. Andrew Cuomo, that was his idea. Congestion pricing. That was his idea. And you notice with that video I played yesterday, Andrew Cuomo didn't say a word about congestion pricing and all those new tolls. If you ask him now, when he was leaving, getting kicked out of office, he said that he was against it then. He was against it right after he fought to pass it into law. So let's get this into law and then tell you I'm against it. So you see the game he's playing. So I'm just letting folks know that he waited till the last minute to jump into this thing because he's been trying to avoid questions. But mark my words, anybody who thinks he's going to have a cakewalk to City Hall, you got another. I don't think that's the way that's going to be. I think it's going to be something different because the political calculus has failed. People really don't want the same old same. They know what they're going to get. They know they're going to get more of that. Andrew thinks that people remember him fondly, or at least he thinks they remember him more fondly than Eric Adams. And I'm just reminding people, it's a new day. It's a new political calculus. You cannot assume that people just remember you fondly. And this is a side effect of what we've done. Because we have had the courage to push back and talk back and push back against the establishment, because we've had the courage to do that, other people are gaining the courage to do so also. It's not verboten. Folks, it's in style. Pushing back against the establishment is in style. Pushing back against the old guard is in style in a way in which it never was before. That's the difference. And a whole bunch of folks are learning that lesson now. Is pushing back is back in style. Talking back and making some awkward moments is back in style. Let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom. Let me see if I can get Candace up here on Zoom. No, it's not Candace Owens, people. It's not Candace Owens. I got Candace here on Zoom. Let me go ahead and give you Candace. I'm waiting for Candace to show up here. Her Zimbabwe broadband is moving a little bit slowly there. Waiting for Candace's Kenyan broadband to get going there. Okay, looks like you have your phone in a cup somewhere. I'm not sure who I'm dealing with here, so can you take your phone up, please? Don't worry, nobody else sees you. It's just me. Just make sure we don't have any trolling issues. That's all we're going for. Nobody else sees you except me. I'm the only one who'll see you. But I just need to make sure I don't have any trolling issues, Candace. All right, hello, Candace.
How are you, Jason?
No, where are you calling me from?
I'm in Philly.
Of course. All right, Candace, what's on your mind?
All right, I thank you again for your broadcast. As always, I enjoy listening to you every week. As for the question that you have posted about, can we trust Trump? My answer is no, because like every other politician, they have an agenda they have to fulfill, so they need people's vote to get them in the office. I'm glad to say that I'm affiliated with neither party, so I'm happy that I don't have to vote for neither one of them demons, because how they both have the mindset to keep the status quo when it comes to Black people. So like you said before in the broadcast, we have to empower our own people and stay awoke, stay alert, just to try to help out each other. And it's just crazy how I know some folks that are Black that voted for Trump and some that voted for Kamala. So either way, it's not going to work out for nobody on our side of the grass. So
the biggest misnomer that people can take away from 2024 is that we are Team Trump and Trump's a buddy and this, that, and the other, and that they've proven something. That's the biggest takeaway you can take away from it. That's the biggest mistake that you can take away from it, is that was the goal, or that should even be a goal. He's not our buddy. He's not our friend. He's not our ally. To the extent that some of his positions may align with some of the things we've been talking about, that's cute and everything, that really is. All I can say to folks is don't get carried away. Don't get carried away. Folks are always looking for a damn team to join. We're not team Democrat. Ooh, we team Republican. Stop looking for a damn team to join. Be your own damn team. You're supposed to be Team Black. That's the team you're supposed to be on. And that's the smart position to take, because here's the issue. The past is the best indicator of the future. it's only going to be a matter of time before they flip back with the way they were. And in Trump's case, he didn't even change. So what I'm saying is, okay, if you can be bought off that easily, you're not reliable to begin with. Our interests are bigger than this. Our interests are much bigger than this, much bigger than one election. And he hasn't done anything specifically for us. So it's not the absence of bad. I require the presence of good before I throw my allegiance to somebody. You can't just say, well, I'm not doing the bad stuff over here. Yeah, but you ain't doing nothing good neither. And if you are refusing to do that while you're doing hella good for other people, yeah, no allegiance for you. None. I'll let you have the last word.
The only thing he did good that I agree with, but I didn't vote for him, is that he is taking out that transgender with the women's sports and keeping that gay stuff out of the kids' school. No child should learn that stuff in grade school. They can't commit to that kind of role as an adult with adult having sex and learning about other sexual acts. That is disgusting. I agree with him on that. He wants to ban that and stop the federal funding. That's the only thing he has going that I agree with. So,
well, I agree with that also. I think that's great and grand and wonderful. But here's the other thing I want to talk about is you have folk who that kind of is a lure. Please understand, the Republicans have been talking about this since Jack Kemp. For those of you who remember Jack Kemp, if you don't remember Jack Kemp in the Bob Dole days and you're not old enough, Republicans, what's his name? The 700 Club. And not Pat Robertson, but his little buddy who was under him. I forget what his name was, Ralph something. But his little buddy who was under him, they've always acknowledged, that was something they were always hanging in the background. They always acknowledged that black people in America had a, quote, conservative bent to them. That there were conservative issues that black people aligned with. Well, the problem is that, yeah, there are, but the issue that we had was that these people were not promoting us. So they were saying, oh, these are points of commonality without them addressing the major issue that we came for. That's the problem. They would not acknowledge the issue we came for. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that there may be some, quote, cultural issues that we agree with them on. If they're not taking care of the major thing in front of us, they're majoring in the minors. And that was a strategy they thought they could use, that they would ignore our social, our economic needs and our social needs and go to cultural issues. That they would sit up here and practice white supremacy economically and white supremacy socially. But hey, well, you know, Negroes, there's some cultural issues in the love of Jesus. And what you realize later now is that all those folk doing that, it was 700 Club. And I don't remember if it was People for the American Way. I'll go look his name up here probably during the commercial break. But he was a little skinny dude. He was a little skinny dude that was running around with the 700 Club people and whatnot. And he used to be on Fox. Ralph Reed. Thank you, Big OD. Ralph Reed. Ralph Reed. A lot of you may not be old enough to remember him. Little skinny brunette haired dude. Ralph Reed. Thank you very much, Big Odie. Shout out to Big Odie. You all can go Google that later. Ralph Reed. He was the one who was sent out specifically to go on television. He was the one specifically going on Fox talking about how Republicans need to, that they could make inroads to black people around the Democratic Party around these social issues. And what you realize, wait a minute, who the hell brought you? The religious folk. Oh, you think that this is the love of Jesus thing. These people are still hanging on that Jim Jones thing. The cult leader, not the rapper. Y'all are still on that. They were all looking for, quote, points of commonality. And, well, here's where we have a commonality culturally. No, you mean religiously. And we'll use that while not giving you anything. Because, sister, let me tell you something. What does that actually give us? Okay, we don't want boys wrestling girls in schools. Absolutely. We don't want them teaching transgenderism. Well, okay, understand that too, but you're supposed to be the chief teacher for your children. But you're supposed to be the chief teacher for your children to begin with. You're supposed to be chief to begin with. So first and foremost, I've never trusted the schools, and I've been saying this now going on 2 decades. Hey, folks, your Muslims don't have these complaints. Your Jewish people don't have these complaints. You're in Philadelphia. I know about your Jewish schools and synagogues there. I got pictures of him in my first I took his B-roll from my first documentary, 7 a.m. I can show you every Jewish synagogue damn near in Philadelphia got a school attached to it. I've seen that with my own 2 eyes. I know you know it because I've seen them. Okay, well, guess what? They're not worried about that. I just did a program 2 weeks ago about Curious Joel up there in upstate New York. I'll be damned. These folks are not worried about what's happening at those schools because they're not dealing with the schools to begin with. I am not saying that these are not relevant things. I am not saying that these things don't matter because they absolutely do. However, I also want you to understand that those are not socioeconomic issues. If we had the damn money, we'd be controlling the schools. So they want us to follow their play while they deprive us of the one thing that controls everything. So keep that in mind. And so we saw this on the right. They thought they were going to use that as a cultural wedge that we can align with black folk, and it didn't work for them. Decades later, they're kind of thinking the same thing, but notice that everybody is ignoring what we came to them with. We came talking about the money, the power, and the influence. And that's the only thing they don't want to discuss. Well, you don't want your kids getting taught transgenderism, do you? No, I don't. I also don't want your schools teaching me my kids that the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen.
And deal with it.
By the way, Ron DeSantis doesn't want them teaching transgender at the schools. Glad to hear that. Ron DeSantis wants them to teach you that slavery didn't happen and the transatlantic slave trade was a work agreement. The same, isn't that amazing? So you're voting for the guy who says, yeah, you don't want nobody teaching about them transgenders. Well, you're right. Vote for me so I can teach that slavery didn't happen. Wait a minute. Sounds like both of you are my enemies. It doesn't sound like that other guy is bad and you're good. It doesn't sound like they're the lesser of two evils. It sounds like both of you are some evil, diabolical bastards, and I need to neutralize both of you.
Yeah. A lot of folks had that mindset, the lesser of the two evils, so that's why they picked him instead of her. But his campaign, he didn't promise black people nothing.
Thank you, which is the point I made. It's not about the presence of bad. It's about the total absence of good. Okay, you're not going to do these bad things. I didn't ask you that. Tell me what good you brought me. This is like somebody showing up at your house saying, hey, I'm not going to beat the ever-loving crap out of you. Okay, well, thank you for not doing something. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to eat out the refrigerator. I'm going to sleep on the couch. Okay, well, what are you going to do of benefit to me? I'm going to not beat the crap out of you. Wait a minute. Okay, this is not about the presence of bad. This is the complete and utter absence of good. You didn't bring me nothing good. Sounds like what I need to do is get this club over here and show you that this beat the crap thing is a two-way street and find somebody who's going to bring me the presence of good.
Yeah. Could I say one more thing about Trump?
Yes.
Well, I noticed with his seat in the office, he's just using his position to get back at the Democrats for what they were trying to do to him during his campaign, and he's using Elon Musk with this Doge. He's behind it, like everybody can see. And I understand he's trying to unearth all the corruption, but it's like, I mean, it's been like that for years. So I mean, he's just using his position just to get back at them for what they're trying to do to him to keep him from becoming president. That's all. I get he want to do to keep things safe, to get the migrants back where they belong because they're causing a problem. But that's just only two things that he is really trying to do. But other than that, I don't trust him. I trust no politician, black or white. They're liars. I don't trust none of them black coon politicians. They're just not for their people. All they want to do is look black, have a white mind, speak white, take all their bread and butter and biscuits for them, and that's it. They're not there to promote black empowerment. They don't care about their own people. They care about themselves, just like
you made a very good point. There's only one person who trusts Donald Trump, and that's Elon Musk, and that's because Elon Musk paid for him to be there. Elon Musk spent $50 billion to get Trump into the White House. The purchase of Twitter was specifically to make sure that this time you control that social media apparatus. He spent $50 billion to get Trump in the White House. Nobody spends $50 billion unless they intend to make $150 billion.
It's a reason why, Jason, he's linked up with Trump. It's a reason why, and it's so obvious why they're so joined at the hip. You just got to pay attention to what these people are doing in that White House. He has access to the Oval Office. He has access to him 24/7, you know? So it's just like...
And you're supposed to. That's what you're supposed to do. This is how politics is supposed to be done. Elon Musk didn't go there for some vague promise or something. He put that money in because he knew exactly what he was going to receive. And that's exactly what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to support anybody until we know exactly what we're going to get. Now you can have our vote. Now you can have our money. Now you can have our support because now you have openly declared exactly what it is we're going to get. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Now that's the way the West was won, and that's how you practice politics. That's exactly how you do it. It is very clear and very obvious what you're going to get. You got all that settled beforehand. You know exactly what you will be receiving. Yes, so now you know exactly what you will be supporting. Now we can move forward because every damn body is on the same damn page. Now I got Bayuden up here on Zoom. You got 5 seconds. Make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on for me, or permanent vacation. So Bayuden here, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on for you. I'll give you 5 more seconds to go ahead and do that. Just so we make sure we don't have any trolling issues. We appreciate that. Okay, sir, I don't see you there. There you go. All right, Bayuden, what's on your mind?
Yeah, man, just you're on point tonight, man. I really do appreciate the message today. You know, they really tried to play us thinking that just because the Democrats didn't get the support that they thought they were going to get from us, that automatically we were just tying in with the pubs. That ain't what it is. It's just the fact that we have to get it. Let them know exactly where we stand, what we want, where we at, and you got it. You on point today, man.
Well, I want all of us to be clear about why we're doing what we're doing. Not a bunch of wildcatting folk out there who don't even know why they're doing the things that they're doing. You can't support someone if the position came from them and not you. If you're you can't support someone else's agenda. The point of having a politician is that they're the carrier and the messenger of your agenda. We get in this situation, we start negotiating, and folks are finessing things and watering it down and diluting it. And then I'll be damned when they show up, it's not even what we originally came to talk about. And then we get coy and we get shy and we get bashful when they start challenging us on things. That's the thing I was bringing up in 2016 and 2020. The civil rights generation taught the white politicians that anytime we start giving them straight talk about what we really want, all they got to do is say, well, what do you mean by that? And that they're afraid that you will come right out and say exactly what it is you showed up for, because your goal is to please him, not to get your actual agenda across. That was the whole reason that I popularized the phrase cut the check, because most black folk were bashful about saying cash payments. They were bashful to say we had neither black agenda. So I found that was a phrase that was much more easily digestible, but it meant exactly the same thing. So that even if you were treated to this phrase, it's going to hit exactly the same way. Cut the check only means one thing. Then you got Sunny Hostin saying cash payments because she didn't want to say cut the check, because she didn't want to have to admit she listens to me. Hi, Sunny. But in any case, like I say, that's the kind of thing that they got used to, was us backing down. If they say, well, what do you mean? Now that has occurred, folks are a lot more bold. They're a lot more in your face with it. They're saying exactly what it is, and they have to come with our agenda. The problem that I have is with people saying, okay, they go for elections the way they do for Super Bowls. And they're engaged during the election and then check out during the off season. And there's the problem. Now you're treating this like a football game. You're treating this like a football game, and it's like the Detroit Lions. You love them whether they win or lose. No, you don't. No, we don't. No. If this is a game where, if this is a game, this is a game where the damn people in the stands write up the playbook. And if we wrote up the playbook and we told you to run the play, to run the ball, don't pass it, run it. And okay, we're going to run it, and I see you steady passing. Oh, no. I'm not supporting you if you're defying what I said.
Yeah, they call this place a republic, right? So this place is supposed to be. We're supposed to put people in front that are supposed to represent our interests. If they're not doing that, then it ain't they ain't doing nothing, and they got to go. All of them it's all worthless.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We don't have to sit up here and hope. This is not a popularity contest. This is not a nice person contest. We need to have some rude moments. We need to make some rude, awkward moments. And we need to be unafraid to do so. Which up to this point, we have been terrified to make some awkward moments. So now we want to trade in the Democrat mascot for a Republican one. And I'm telling you, no, you are the mascot. Donald Trump is not suddenly a good guy because Kamala Harris was trash. Donald Trump is not now the chosen because there are a few issues that we can align with. Our whole thing is cut the damn check and then we will dictate to the Democrats what they're going to do, because my whole thing is I played for you all last night. Andrew Cuomo thinks he's positioning himself to run for president. What? I said it. Andrew Cuomo thinks he's positioning himself to run for president. So now he's trying to take up some more conservative positions, which is why he's directly going after folk about the police and law enforcement so that he can make an argument that, you know, you can't say he's soft on crime, which has been generationally, that's been a weak point for Democrats. That's been a vulnerability for Democrats, being soft on crime. So he's trying to pull from the Clinton playbook and I'll be tough on crime. And now the Republicans can't attack me on that. And that'll make me a more viable candidate. Well, he's certainly a more viable candidate than J.D. Vance, but that's like saying you're a more viable candidate than herpes. I mean, it's not a very high bar to clear. But Andrew Cuomo thinks he's gearing up for a presidential run, which is what he was doing back in 2020. Back when COVID hit, he was gearing up to run for president in 2024. The Democrats sent in Letitia James to do a hit on him, and they took him out before he could run for president in 2024. He has now regrouped, and he's seeing if he can go ahead and get back into elective office again so he can make another run in 2028 because he sees the Republican field as weak, which it is. He sees the Democrats as in complete disarray, which they are. And he sees that there's a power vacuum that an old politician who knows how to play things and knows how to pivot from the far left to the center can take advantage of. I'm not saying that he won't do it or he can't do it. If anybody is politically savvy enough to be able to do it, Andrew Cuomo could. But I am letting you know that Andrew Cuomo has not established himself as one of our friends or partners either. I don't want to hear any damn thing else. I take a look at Curious Joel. I take a look at Hudson Yards. I take a look at when they rolling out the damn red carpet for Jeff Bezos. Damn it, if you can pull $100 billion out your backside for all them other folk, you can do it for us. And you owe a debt. You could do that for them. Damn it, you can do it for us. You sure the hell can. No excuses. I don't give a damn how politically unpalatable it is. What you're doing for Israel is politically unpalatable to a lot of people, but you're still doing it. Well then, damn it, get ready to double up on unpalatable. You ain't gonna sit up here and say, well, we only gonna serve one unpalatable. No, damn it, this is about to be an unpalatable buffet. That's what it's about to be. And if the only time you can stand up is for other folk, then I can't stand for you. My knees too weak. Can't do it. Can't get off this couch. Oh, this lazy boy got me. Oh, this lazy boy got me in a bear hug. I don't think I can get up. I was about to get up for a hot second there, but the lazy boy got me. Oh, the lazy boy got me in a bear hug. I can't move. I can't get up here. Can't do nothing right now. Let me get my Netflix back on. Was gonna get up and vote for you, but the lazy boy got me. Got a hold of me. All right, I got Remy here on Zoom. Remy, what's on your mind?
Quick question. That beautiful podcast, by the way, always powerful, brother. Be one to the family. In regards to the long game, how do you think the Democratic Party or the Republican Party is going to pivot when they notice that the black vote isn't changing?
They're doing it right now, brother.
Do?
They're doing it right now. They're doing it right now. What you see with Andrew Cuomo. Look, folks, this is the way politics works. When you have political parties, you usually have a party leader. Now, the party leader usually vacillates between two people. Number one, if your party is in power and you've won the presidency, whoever is the president is now the leader of the party. When you are out of power, usually it's whoever was the last president or whoever the presiding political machine is. What we found out was that after Barack Obama left office, he basically is off being a boy toy to white millionaires. So Nancy Pelosi been running the damn party. And we know this is true because she's the one who told a sitting president, you got to step down. That she's gotten together with all these other folk and all the big money donors. She got together with them and they got together and said, yeah, you're stepping down because Nancy says you have to step down. So by default, Nancy Pelosi has been the leader of the party. Okay, and everything would have been fine if they had won the election, but they didn't. So now Nancy is she's as unpopular as shingles right now. And well, I mean, regardless of anything, nobody even wants to do it. She's the bad guy. Right. I said George Clooney can't show his damn face. I said that from the beginning. I said, George Clooney, if you strike at the king, you must kill him. Okay, he knocked off Biden, but I said, that's not what I meant. You better win this election. Because I said this when it happened. I said, if you knock off Joe Biden and Kamala Harris loses, everyone's going to blame you. And Joe Biden's going to say, I could have won. Well, you can't prove a negative. But the bottom line is if you knock off Biden and say he's got to go, but then you replace, because he's going to lose, but you replace one loser with another, you're now responsible for the new loser. You weren't, if Joe Biden had won, you wouldn't have been responsible for his loss. You knocked him off and said, we got to get somebody else. You are now responsible for whatever happens next. Nancy Pelosi became responsible for whatever happened next. And while she was able to get herself reelected, it is now effectively the end of her political career. It's the end of her party. And by the way, there are certain members of the Democrat Party who wanted that. They wanted this to go badly so that there could be a reset, which is what we're seeing right now. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez very much wants Nancy Pelosi to be neutralized. There's always been a beef right there. The young bloods have always wanted her to get out of the paint because she's been running the party from behind the scenes with the money people. Andrew Cuomo comes from the old guard. Yes, he does, but he comes from the Clinton wing of the party. So that predates Obama. He comes from that wing. The Democrats who became more conservative in order to stop the Republican stranglehold of Ronald Reagan and the Bushes. That's where Cuomo comes from. He's looking at the current party and he sees a bunch of metrosexual, LGBT radicals and idiots, and that he'll be the sensible person in the room. And right now, yeah, he does seem to be that way. Although he's lost a step, but compared to them, he's still doing that. So that's the way political parties work. And right now, there's a scramble for the ball. There's a power vacuum. There isn't anybody who is the dominant voice in the Democrat Party that people are rallying around. Andrew Cuomo thinks he sees an opening to do that. And that's what he's trying to do right now. He's trying to become that person you're talking about.
Thank you, Jason. Last question. May I ask one more question, please?
Go ahead.
Why is it willful ignorance that they're displaying right now? Because COVID-19 wasn't that long ago, and I'm pretty sure the sexual assault cases that came out of nowhere on Andrew Cuomo, probably real or not, you never know. But why does he feel emboldened to run again? I know you said because there is a power vacuum, but do you think there's somebody who is funding this, like who told him, hey, you need to go run again? You know, this, if any time, this is the best.
No, I mean, no, he's the, first of all, that's just basic political calculus. He's the old guard. If you're a politician looking around, take a look at what's going on. Kathy Hochul came into office. She was a weak link to begin with. She was always this really awkward, bug-eyed looking weird person. Yep. She's come into office and she is more unpopular than Andrew ever was, ass pension included. She is more unpopular than Andrew ever was. Her political career is already over. Her showing up was DOA. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't want to run back and run for governor again. He's looking for another avenue in that regard. He's taking a look at New York City. Eric Adams seems to be compromised at the very least. weak at the very most, compromised at the very least. So politically, Adams' tenure has not gone great. So there's an opening there. He doesn't want to run for Senate because you'd have to knock off Chuck Schumer. That's going to be tough. So don't think you can do that one. So of all the available options...
You don't think Bernie Sanders is available?
Well, no. But of all the available... For Bernie Sanders wasn't Vermont. But of
no,
all
I'm
the...
about like for presidency.
No. Bernie is taking 2 bites of the apple. You don't get... Bernie Sanders is like an old rock group. He's got a hardcore following of supporters, but it's not enough to get him to number 1 on the charts. And that's just the bottom line. He's got a hardcore followers who they're very, very vocal on the internet, but the bottom line is they've never been able to get him the numbers that he needs. So they're hardcore, they're very hard, and they're very vocal, but they can't deliver the numbers. That's the problem with the Bernie bros. And now he's more unpopular with black folks since he said he ain't going to support reparations. So he's a radical about every damn thing except what we need. Back to your original question, though. Andrew has had a few years now to step back and take a look at the landscape. Kathy Hochul is weakened. Letitia James has completely destroyed her credibility. Eric Adams is on the ropes. So basically, looking around, he doesn't have any real competition at the state or local level. I think what has occurred, though, is that the assembly people in Albany have probably told him that they're not going to support him for governor, and that's why he's retreated to mayor. I think that's what happened, because they're the ones who said they were going to do impeachment against him. So I think that he went back to go test those waters in Albany. There hasn't been enough changes there to support him, so he thinks it'll be a lot easier to go knock off New York and see if you can launch the president from there.
Big jump. But thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg. So, I mean, it's an audacious thing to try to go from mayor to president is rare, but he's not going to do that. He's already been a governor. So that's what he'll be basing that on.
That's his only card he can play, right?
Yeah, he's going to base it on that. I've already been governor, so and that's what he talked about in this video. So that's what he'll go for. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, like I said, I mean, this is politics here. This is politics. Bernie Sanders is popular on the internet among a hardcore group of people, but Bernie Sanders is essentially like the Green Party. What? Folks, you got to give it up. Donald Trump was an insurgent with the Republicans just like Bernie Sanders. The problem is that Donald Trump could actually galvanize the Republican Party around him. Donald Trump was able to get the Republican Party base to abandon the establishment. Donald Trump could convince the base to abandon the establishment, and Bernie Sanders couldn't. Now that's just the bottom line. Bernie Sanders was never able to get the base to abandon the establishment, and Donald Trump could. And then when you talk to Bernie long enough, you find out why you can't. Everything he says is a noun and a verb and Medicaid. But he doesn't have really anything beyond that. And that's what I'm saying. A bunch of emotionally driven folk on the internet who hear a slogan and they join him as a fad. But when you ask about policies and positions, you don't really know anything. You can't support that. Donald Trump understood people have to be able to tell you exactly why they're voting for me. They have to know the issues and the policies. Where Bernie is concerned, all you can say is, well, he's different. He's different. He's different. That ain't enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. That goes for the TikTok attention span generation that can only have a 30-second attention span that doesn't go nationally. Bernie had his chance not once but twice. Not once but twice. It is time for him to step the hell off. If he goes back out there again, he's going to do worse than he's ever done. That's just the bottom line. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the Zoom link is pinned to the top of the chat room here. The Zoom link is pinned to the top of the chat room, so you are more than welcome to go ahead and use that. If you wish to give us a call up here, you're more than welcome to do that. I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who's contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shy here, the immigrant B1. Essentially, black empowerment means black people running every part of the society, which affects black people, which is the whole society. Everybody else is taking out their claims. We cannot be shy about that. The worst thing you could do is be shy about your interests. That is the worst thing that you can be, is shy about your interests. You have no place and no calling to be shy about what is in your interests. Shy here to the code leads. We appreciate that. FBA Queen, Terrell Evans, Erwin Davis, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate that here tonight. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When I come back, we'll be dealing with this and more. This is the Black Channel.
When you visit MrBeTheTeacher.com, you can get a copy of his award-winning book, Guidelines for the Successful Student. While you're there, grab one of his newest tunes along with fun and educational lyric videos.
Never give up, don't worry, never give up, study. In order to
2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6.
now swap names, he, she, they, and we. Simplify the daddy divides as the father and guide. Mommy multiplies and shares on what they buy.
You can also acquire his tutoring services via varsitytutors.com or tutor.com. If you wish to speak to Steve Burgess directly, you can do so through MrBeTheTeacher.com.
The Honey Badger and the Mongoose is a children's story for the family of how a honey badger and mongoose fight an evil alliance of venomous cobra, snakes, and hyenas that overhauls the balance of the savannah. The Big Five. The honey badger demands reparations. Will the Big Five give the honey badger reparations? Can the evil alliance of cobras and hyenas be stopped? The best new price for the hard and soft cover is at www.thehoneyBadgerandthemongoose.com. You can also find this book at Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. The upshot of what I've been saying here tonight is, folks, that we are not supporters of anybody but ourselves. We are supporters of our interests. It's very, very nice that some of these things might align with us. That was 2024. We are not Trump fans. We are not Trump stans. We don't trust him. We don't like him. We understand that he's serving somebody else's interests. We are here to, what we did last year was teach the world a lesson. That's what we did. But I warn you against falling into old bad habits. It is an old bad habit to treat political parties like a football game, like a football team. That, well, they're bastards, but they're our bastards. No, they're not. None of them belong to us. We're not backing anybody. Not at all. We're not backing anyone. We're not team any of them. We're team ourselves. And every day we get up and reevaluate the field. And the reason for that is very simple, folks, in case you didn't get the memo. Donald Trump is not playing with us or for us. Donald Trump is playing against us. What? I don't give a damn if Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Marvin Gaye come out endorsing him. He's not fighting with us or for us. He's fighting against us. Don't be so silly and simple-minded. He's fighting against us. Our job is to position ourselves with that in mind. Though he's the opposition. That's our stance, is they're the opposition. And unless or until the day comes that they approach us with what we have instructed them to, they will remain the opposition. Now, what that doesn't mean is that because they're the ops, we're going to go vote Democrat, because they're the ops too. Please do not lose sight of that reality. Malcolm X talked about that. Dr. John Henry Clark talked about that. Dr. Claude Anderson's talked about that. I'm reminding you about that. None of them are our allies. None. And let me go on to say the next thing. With that being in mind, I do not want him to be strengthened. What? Now that I've said that for the slow bus children, Trump is not our favorite. We didn't empower him, nor do we want him to be empowered. I do not want him to be an empowered president. I always want him at the very best, that his power rides a knife's edge, that the slightest breeze could blow him right off. That's exactly where we want him. We do not want a very strong president who can go on for years or decades ignoring our demands. Nor am I going to create a political environment that strengthens him or emboldens him. That is not in our interests. It's not in our interest to say, attaboy, great job. That's not in our interests. It's in our interest to sit back and show the Democrats, you gonna catch hell for all this time right here because you didn't do our bidding. But it is not in our interest to attaboy him and pat him on the back and, hey, great job. That's not in our interests. Too many simple-minded folk who are not thinking strategically nor critically. It is not in our interest for things to be going great for him. No, it's not. On account of the fact that, as I said, he's the ops. It's not in our interest for things to go great for him. It's not in our interest to give him attaboys. If things are going great for him, we sit back in the cut. If things are going bad for him, we see which way the chips are going to fall. And if there's a ability or opportunity for us to maneuver them to our advantage. That's what we do. That's what we do. Listen to me, people. I said this over a decade ago, but let me remind you, presidents come and presidents go. Black empowerment is forever. There was somebody different in the White House 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 6 months ago. And there will be somebody different in the White House 3 years and some months from now. There will be somebody new. Folks, lose sight of that. You act like this is going to be the last damn president ever. This is going to repeat itself all over again. And there will be somebody else new, and we will have to reposition ourselves again. I've never lost sight of that, and I'm not losing sight of that now. He's there today, and I just mean today. He'll be gone. Are we positioning ourselves to be in the best position we can be in when the next person shows up? Because if you're rah-rah Trump, you just gave it up. No, sir. No, sir. We're not rah-rah anything. No, I'm not. If there's an opportunity here to mitigate what you're doing, well, don't be surprised if we seize on it. Don't be surprised if we seize on it. Right now, Trump is in a bad spot. He made a complete ass of himself. The world is turning against him for NATO. It's like, yeah, that was what we were looking for right there. You want to talk about being isolated? That's what you're looking for right there. Well, why don't y'all come bail him out? We ain't going to do a damn thing. Let the talking heads on Fox News and the news zombies sit up there and talk against empirical reality if they wish to. Go ahead and do that right there. It's like, yeah, dude, we can count over here. We can count over here. This was a horrendously bad look for you, and it is not in our interest to pretend it isn't. It would be very, very nice for him if we pretended it was. We're just not going to pretend that. Yeah, saw you looking bad. Had a bad week this week, huh? Looking rough on you. We're going to deport some illegals. Yeah, you were already doing that, but about that bad week you've been having. You know, you might want to start rethinking what you're doing for us on account of the fact that you made it only a couple of months in and already you got egg and sewage on your face. You sure you don't want to start rethinking about doing something directly for us? You sure you don't want to rethink that now? Because I got it on good authority that over the course of the next 4 years, you're going to have plenty of other opportunities to screw up. And you're going to need some help and some backup. You're going to remind people about how chaotic and unreliable you are. And that turned him against you in 2020. And I warned everybody, do you all think he's not going to repeat history? I told everybody, this is what he did in 2020. You think he's not going to do the same damn thing again? Folks, we're only a month and a half in. I'll be damned. We took the express train there. And that's exactly where we want to be. We want to be right here. Yes, you want him compromised. You want him weakened. You want him looking stupid and awkward. You want him isolated. You want him in a position where his power is questioned. You want him making stupid mistakes. You want him fighting to die on hills that ain't worth it. You want him to get distracted. You want him to look like Jerry Springer. You want him to look unprofessional. Yes, that's exactly what you want, because then they start reconsidering stuff. When folks feel like they're empowered, they start feeling like they can take liberties. When they start realizing, oh, they're getting weaker, now they start, let me start cutting some deals. And that's where you want them. Let me get Thomas on Zoom. Let me see if we can go ahead and get Thomas up here on Zoom. Everybody who's on Zoom, please remember, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on, just so we don't have any trolling issues. All right, we got Thomas here on Zoom. Thomas, turn off your YouTube audio. What's on your mind?
All right, Brother Jason. Good greetings, family. B1, everybody. I was calling to see about checking on calculating the reparations rates and seeing what it would be a feasible count or amount. You know, would it be person's age times the national median income, or what? How would we tally it? Individual.
Okay, the same thing I say every time somebody calls me and asks me about this. Jason, what should the amount of reparations be? Yes. Jason, but I said, how do we calculate it? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, what should it be? Yes. The answer is yes.
Right.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Folks call me and ask me about that. People, y'all already know. You ask me, Jason, what should the amount be? Yes. Yes. How do we calculate it? Yes. How big should it be? Yes. Damn, this nigga thought all this through. Yes, it's called having an agenda. I have an agenda. I have a principle on which I'm doing it. Doesn't matter who the hell's in power. The answer is going to be the same. I did not get my agenda from somebody else. It is what I got from the soil and the people. What is the answer? Yes. The answer is yes. All right, we got Miller here on Zoom. Miller, what's on your mind?
What's going on, Jason? Got a couple of questions here. Now, when it comes to the Republicans and the Democrats, how long do you think they're going to play this game with us, you know, like switching back and forth about who's in power, who's not in power?
Forever.
You know,
forever. Brother, once again, I know I'm name dropping Malcolm a lot tonight, but he said that the whole time. Brother, the political parties are an institution that represents Washington and the power structure, but they only go by two different names in name only. They are twin wings on the bird of white supremacy, which is why you see Democrats and Republicans who can switch whole political parties. So there's only one political party, the white one. There's only one. Please, folks, do not be deceived. There are not two political parties or 5 or 6. There's only one. Take a look at the outcome. No matter which, quote, party is elected, Democrat or Republican, you notice that the outcome always remains the same. No revolutionary change, no upheaval of the status quo. It's always the same. So please understand, liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, it's all one party, the white one.
So what do we do about it?
And what we're doing right now, which is first order of business, is you stop pretending that it's not what you see in front of you. You cannot fight a problem if you will not face a problem. If you keep telling yourself that, well, there's an option, there's differences here. Well, we're just not supporting the right political party. We're just not going for the right political candidate. If you don't first acknowledge that, by the way, this is the white party, you don't have that idea. Secondly, you need to recognize that the agenda, whatever you do, whether it is in politics or outside of politics, because we made more progress after George Floyd than we did for the previous 4 or 5 decades. All of your answers are not going to be political. Most of your answers are going to be economic. Some will be political. Some will be on the street.
Oh, yeah.
So when you say, well, Jason, what are our options? All of the above. Or what I just said, reparations. Jason, what are our options? Yes. So please do not get the idea that you're pigeonholed and that I'm saying there's just one direction for us to go in and that's it. Because that's not the way the Republicans operate. That's not the way Elon Musk operates. That's not the way that any of these other folk do things. So we're all looking for a one size fits all and a silver bullet. No, all of the above. Everything. We use everything at our disposal, especially for folks in the most compromised position. No, everything is on the table. When there's an election year, we going the other way. When it's a non-election year, we still doing the same thing. If there's money to be spent, we gonna do that. If it's time to hit the street, we gonna do that. And you know me, I've done all of the above, and we will continue to do so.
Last but not least, my last question. When it comes to the Asians, when it comes to the Mexicans, when it comes to the Ukrainians and everybody else, they pull money out their backside out of the middle of nowhere, right? When it comes to them, they get crime bills, they get all of that. But when it comes to us, we get nothing. And how long should we tolerate this, man? This it's getting to a point where, it's like, it's falling on deaf ear when we speak to them about these things.
Well, brother, that's what we've been doing now. Particularly for the last decade, we've seen a considerable amount of progress in that when these folks show up, we rolled up on James Clyburn. We've created awkward moments. The civil rights generation said, don't do that. Joe Biden, Mr. Three Strikes himself, sitting in the middle of damn black churches with the old niggas. Hey, Joe. Hi, Joe. They can't do that no more, brother. Look, I understand a lot of folks, they haven't studied these courses. They're not political scientists. They're not psychologists. They don't know power dynamics. So I've tried to do my best to identify these things for you when I can. And I know that on the internet, you've always got some jackass everywhere who pretends that they know things and they absolutely don't, fall on their faces. I've just tried to hold people to account, including myself, to show you all, hey, if it's reliable, you should be able to call somebody back. Remember after them cops beat that fellow to death in St. Louis, and we said Kamala Harris showed up there. And I showed y'all at that church. I said, do y'all realize she ain't saying black? She ain't saying nothing. She sat up there that whole podium the whole damn time for about 2 minutes, didn't say a damn thing. She was scared to speak because she realized that she doesn't have any black credentials. We took that. That was the most awkward ass thing. Al Sharpton was sitting up there talking crazy, but Kamala Harris sat up there looking like a kitten in the headlights. She was scared to speak. What I'm saying is, do you realize what a change that is? Yeah. Do you realize what a change that is from how she was talking on the Breakfast Club in 2019 and 2020? Do you realize what a change that was? I need you all to understand, as a person who operates in this sphere and talks to these folk here, the message has gotten through. That's why I showed you. Steve Harvey sat there and said, they're all calling me up to my show, bugging me about reparations. Ain't gonna get no damn reparations. No way, brother. The message has gotten through. Okay, he said that. If everything he said was so damn reliable, please explain to me why his candidate went down in flames. If what he was saying was so reliable and was so damn strong. If we're not carrying the day, please explain to me how the hell that happened. Please explain to me how that went down exactly the way we said it was going to go down. Please explain to me why the Democrats are in complete disarray right now. Please explain to me why Ayanna Pressley is talking about HR 40 again. Please explain why all that's going on. Bernie Sanders is dead quiet and Ayanna Pressley is trying to say something. Please explain to me why that is. If ain't nothing changed. Yeah, it's changed. And what has changed is the idea that we who used to vote monolithically, because that's what the civil rights generation did, that's changing. But I will also tell you one other thing that's different. We have no problem taking the streets, and our vocabulary is not about integration. Our vocabulary is about economic elevation. That's all brand new. Now, the other thing I need you to understand is that you are not going to reverse 90 years of conditioning, 120 years of conditioning in 5 or 10 years. Because it's not in these parties' interest to acquiesce to you, because as once again, y'all gonna get sick of it tonight. When Malcolm X said that when we demanded white people's schools, they left their old schools and built new schools in the suburbs. When we demanded white people's houses, they left their old houses in the city and built new homes in the suburbs. But now we're asking for the white man's job. We're asking for the white man's money. Can he abandon his money and his jobs the same way that he abandoned his schools and his houses? Not without violence and bloodshed. Dr. King, we're coming to get our check. So yeah, that other stuff they could abandon. They could leave that. That was expendable. The economy ain't expendable. We finally came down to the heart of the matter. If we want new schools, new housing, you get your hands on the economy, you got all of that. That's the source that those other things come from. Now everybody's putting up stone walls. Now everybody's passing around memos saying don't promise black people anything specific. Now you got folks giving trick bag language. Now you got people talking about social justice and environmental justice and environmental racism and trying to figure out how do you talk around that. Right now, the Democratic Party is doing everything under God's green's earth, under God's sun, to try to avoid having a one-on-one conversation with us about the issues, because they know now that we getting straight to the questions that matter. Let's talk about this money and economically, and we want specifics. No code language, no minorities, no black and brown. We want to discuss what you're going to do for the descendants of the slaves. That's the only topic of discussion. And what do you know? The Democrats don't want to talk to you anymore. Now, what they were hoping in 2024 was that was a momentary aberration. You're just going to vent. You're really upset. They just didn't have the right message, and that in 2026 you'll be so tired of Trump that you'll come back to them because you have to. If we do our job, they will find that no, this is the new way under the sun. And maybe we can't knock out the whole thing, but we can certainly knock you off simply by sitting where we are. And just take a look at what's happening right now. Donald Trump, now this is strategy. Donald Trump is going after the Democrats. If he can figure out a way to indict Letitia James, he's going to do it. If Donald Trump can figure out a way to indict Alvin Bragg, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. If he can figure out a way to indict these folk, he going to do it quick, fast, and in a hurry. Don't give a damn what the Supreme Court says. Doesn't give a damn what President says. He coming. And you know what? I'm sitting back here with the damn popcorn. I'm like, yep, get on him. Not because I'm rooting for Trump, but because you don't have a credible deterrent if you're not willing to stand back. Brother, if you tell somebody, let's just say you got kinfolk, and you tell them, damn it, you keep doing these drugs, you keep not working or whatever, the sky gonna fall. It's gonna go bad for you. Brother, you don't have credibility if you come back every year and keep warning them the sky's gonna fall. If you tell somebody the sky's gonna fall, that if they keep doing ABC and they keep doing ABC, that bastard better fall at some point. Otherwise, you lose your credibility. So we tell the Democrats, if y'all keep messing around, you gonna find out all damn day. We gonna sit back and let Trump run wild on you. We're gonna let your worst nightmares come to life. And no talking about, well, you see, they gonna get y'all too. Y'all been getting us. So if you don't do what we told you, we're going to sit back and let the man run wild on you. He can talk crazy. He can talk insane. We're not supporting him, but we're not going to get in his way either. Then you have to be, I know that at the beginning you were a little less enchanted when you heard that. Now you see, oh, I'll be damned. That actually works. Yeah, we're going to sit back and we're going to tell him, yes, we know what he's doing. You can't get on TV and alarm us. You can't get on TV and panic us. You can't get on television and say, y'all better do something different or Trump, the boogeyman gonna come get us. We're like, bring the boogeyman on. Bring him on. Let him eat every damn thing. If we cannot all be equally comfortable, damn it, we will all be equally uncomfortable. That's the price we're willing to pay. But guess what? He's gonna make y'all uncomfortable first. And they know it. So as far as I'm concerned, we told you that the sky was gonna fall. This bastard is falling. And we'll check back on you in 4 years and see if you done got some act right. And see if you want to stop talking crazy and stop talking stupid. And when we tell you what needs to be done, you say, okay, well, let's see what we can do about that. As opposed to, well, we can't really do nothing. Then if you can't do nothing, I can't keep Trump off your ass. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, I agree. So, when you look at 250 years, that's went by since slavery and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like that check gonna be nice, man, when it comes. And I feel it. It's a change in the air. I really feel it. I think we're making progress with all of the talk about cutting checks and reparations. It's becoming mainstream talk. So I think
the other thing is when we talk about reparations, one thing in particular I want us to focus on is the stuff that we've owned and had. You want to talk about opportunity zones? I'm so glad y'all keep talking about opportunity zones. We have to be an evolving organism as well. I'm perfectly fine with opportunity zones. We're gonna start with the Black Wall Streets. Damn. You want an opportunity zone? I'll show you that. We got opportunity zones that need to be revitalized all across damn me America. We sure do. You want to build the tallest damn building in America in Oklahoma? I'm so glad you said that. Right down the street from Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. So glad you said that. You want to sit up here and build up the Eastern Seaboard and anything that's got ocean access? I'm so glad you said that because you owe us Wilmington. That y'all been trying to steal that from us now for a century. We need to discuss Wilmington. And you need to have the Attorney General of the United States go in there and indict people, starting with that damn librarian who's been sitting on the record, starting with her. I want to see her marched out in handcuffs. I want people to understand something. When you have something like that occur, that you walk in there and you start marching folk out in handcuffs, that changes everything. Folk don't want to sit up here and get buck and get bold and sit up here and keep practicing white supremacy when they see folk getting marched out in handcuffs and they got to ask themselves, do I want to be next? Is it really worth that much to me? Hey, look, I got a wife and kids. Look here. The jig is up. The jig is up. When that happens, it's a game changer. That was why it was so important to get Carolyn Bryant in handcuffs and why Joe Biden had to go down and Kamala Harris had to go down on that one issue alone. I told y'all right there, when that happened, to hell with Joe Biden, you're done. You can never be forgiven for this. You're done. If the world had seen that woman get marched out in handcuffs the way that Jewish people do the old Nazis, they don't give a damn if you're 98 or 104 years old. Get your old ass in this wheelchair with your oxygen tank and your blood pressure pills and get your ass in this courtroom. You on trial. You're on trial. That is it. Everybody and their mama has organized about preventing us from creating those optics. That we can get folk brought out in handcuffs decades later. And what do you know? It's your Dixiecrats who are leading the charge. Now, where we come into this is we're supposed to have so-called black representatives. And what hasn't happened up to this point is us holding their feet to the fire and saying that you are illegitimate to represent us because you are not backing our issues. And when we rolled up on James Clyburn, it was on point, and that's why he got flustered about it. And these other folks have been trying to prevent that from occurring. On the one hand, they're trying to avoid being questioned, but on the other hand, that's a two-edged sword. if you don't talk to the people, then you're just as good as invisible. You're going to have to come out at some point. You're going to have to come out and you're going to have to speak. Brother, how did hiding work for Kamala Harris? How did that work for her? She brought out Meg Thee Stallion. She brought out Beyonce. She brought out Soulja Boy. She brought out everybody except herself. How'd that work out? Eventually, she had to start talking because these other folk can't run for office for you. You're going to have to speak at some point. And when she did, she started getting asked real questions, or at least the real issues came up. She had to address them. She couldn't do it. Game over. You lose. Same thing with these other folk. If we are persistent and hold their feet to the fire and demand these things and apply the pressure, if we do that, even if it's only a few of them, because please understand, the Jewish lobby and AIPAC, they didn't target all the Congress people. They only targeted a few. Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, I forget the Arab woman's name. They tried to knock her off, couldn't get it. AOC, they tried, couldn't get it. But they only targeted a few. They didn't get them all. They got 2 of them. They didn't get all of them. They got 2 of them. I played Tucker Carlson last night for y'all. Okay. He's letting you all know how it goes. And we get that mindset to say, hey, we don't give a damn that you black. You're not on the black agenda. When you demonstrate you're serious about that, and yes, we really will send your ass home with nothing. When you demonstrate that, folks, get some act right. But you have to show them that you're willing to see this all the way through, and you really will knock them off, and you really will let a Republican sit right there, and you really will let things go to hell if you don't get your way. And brother, what the hell we got to lose? What the hell do we have to lose to support heaven? Support heaven for who? Let this damn thing go to hell. We're supporting the status quo for who? Everybody else eating good and we over here eating damn meat scraps. No, damn that. Let everybody start eating scraps then. Let it be that. If we can't eat the fruits of our labor, let everybody eat the damn scraps. I'll roll with that. I'll let you have the last word.
Last word, man. Keep doing your thing, Brother Jason. I mean, thank God for you. And, you know, you're 700 and how many degrees? 20?
Close enough. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. 720, y'all. What do you say? I listen to your program all the time, Jason.
Lie.
I'm a daily listener, Jason. What is it? 705 degrees? 703? Jason, the 700 club degrees? 812, Jason, how many degrees? I listen all the time. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and see if I can get Sean up here on Zoom. Let me get Sean up here on Zoom. All right, Sean. Okay, we got some weirdness going on that camera. All right, Sean, why do you got the Uncle Ruckus filter on, bro? What we doing? Okay, Sean, turn the light on for me, brother. I'm not sure what he doing here, but Sean, we got some weirdness going on. I don't know why this is happening. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to get that resolved. If I can't get that taken care of, it's an issue. So I don't know what we doing with that filter going on there, brother, but there's some weirdness going on. There's some weirdness going on. Okay, Sean, I'm not sure what's happening with you there, brother. You got some weird stuff going on. I don't know. He got like an Uncle Ruckus filter going on, so he got me concerned that we got some trolling going on. So, brothers, if you can get your life straightened out there, give us a call back sometime. Let me go ahead and see if I can get Daryl here on Zoom. All right, we got Daryl on Zoom. What's on your mind, brother?
How you doing, Jason?
All right, brother. What's on your mind?
First off, thank you very much for having me. Excellent broadcast again, as always. I'm going to hit up on 2 of these points. First off, we're going to talk about the president. Jason, you called it out. You called that out a while ago. And you've been on accurate as always. And it's just a question of how deep he's going to stick his leg down his throat. We know he's going to do it, but just how many times you're going to do it and how bad.
Oh, I mean, he's been emboldened, so he's going to shove it straight down, both feet licking it all the way down. So, he's going to crash all the way out.
Yes.
I mean, this is the worst of all possible outcomes because remember, for him, it doesn't matter what he wants. He cannot run for president again. So this is it. These 4 years, this is the last 4 years. It's going to be like Rudy Giuliani on steroids. He going to crash all the way out. Brother, he ain't got nothing to lose. Do you really think that Donald Trump is worried about J.D. Vance? I said this before. Donald Trump don't give a damn about J.D. Vance. If J.D. Vance loses in 2028, what is Trump going to say? It was J.D.'s fault. Trump is going to say, I handed him a great economy. Everything was great. J.D. was never really ready. Trump is not going to blame himself. If J.D. Vance loses in 2028, Trump is going to say, that's on you, J.D. That ain't on me. So, brother, he's going all the way. He's got 4 years. He's been sitting in the wilderness for 4 years now. He's had folk indict him and everything else. Oh, brother, he's going to crash all the way out. This is going to be the most unusual, tumultuous presidency that we have ever witnessed in American history because you got a kamikaze president in office who ain't got nothing to lose. Maybe he doesn't have anything to gain either, but he's got nothing to lose. He going all the way, bro. This is like your crazy ex-girlfriend. She mad as hell. She been stalking you for 6 years. You've been clowning her on social media. You done showed all the ugly no makeup pictures. Everybody's upset with her. You told everybody about the abortion she had by them 4 dudes. She's just been ravenous to get at your ass. She finally talked to somebody who told her where you live. Now she know where you live at. She's like, oh, I'm busting the car windows, the tires, the house. Oh, I'm throwing acid on the roof. Nigga, I'm going all the way out. I got one chance to get at you. Because when I show up, you going to move. When you come out and see your car like this, you going to move. So I got one chance to get you. Oh, I'm going all the way out.
That's right.
And that's where Trump is today. Anything on the table. Those people in California, Letitia James, no wonder she there getting blitzed at the damn thing when we was at in Albany because I'm like, yeah, she knows. The president's got it in for you. When you strike at the king, you must kill him. The president of the United States got it in for you. And we know, not we guess, we know for a fact that his administration is going through all the files and all the records, the IR. I told you about this before the election.
Yes, it was.
We know he's going through the IRS. We know he's going through Social Security. We know he's going through the Treasury Department. We know he's looking at anything and everything that relates to everybody. And the one thing they're not talking about, now that he's got an FBI director and a national security director, and an attorney general.
Yes.
Brother, don't you know they going over every phone call, every text message, all her relatives? They are looking for anything and every damn thing.
Yes, they are.
And if there's anything she got out there, brother, they gonna find it.
They're gonna find it. That's true.
Mark my word. Fannie Willis.
Yeah.
Oh, yo, look here, Fannie. Look here, baby. She can't even fit the BBL good. Damn. So in Fannie's case, Fannie, you high and dry, baby. You high and dry. The only way Fannie makes this out of this okay is if Trump is just so involved with New York, he can't really fool with her. Other than that, for all of y'all, baby, everybody is getting free smoke for the next 4 years. You have a president who has let you know Elon is up here going through every file he can look at. And you got to survive the next 4 years. Think about that for a moment, brother. He going all the way out. What do you got to lose? What do you got to lose?
He has nothing to lose, Jason. You got that right. And the other part is with Cuomo there in New York City. That's a fickle thing in itself too. That's another fickle situation, and that's gonna be an interesting election to say the least. And I don't know. I can't predict the outcome of that one. All I just know is that the person that makes the least mistakes over there will be the winner. That sounds like that anyway.
I predicted right now, I think this is about the top of the thing for Andrew Cuomo. He's going to have a bit of a honeymoon until he starts talking.
There you go. That's right.
He's going to have to answer questions. The number one thing against him is that congestion pricing. That is a pocketbook issue that hits New Yorkers every morning. It is astoundingly unpopular. And if Kathy Hochul can talk stupid because she ain't got a political future. So she can sit there and talk dumb as she wants to. But for the average New Yorker, they don't want any more taxes. They don't want any more tolls. They don't like the ones they got. Everybody talks about how expensive it is, and you're adding cost to things and wanting to get a pat on the back. The only thing New York's missing is more tolls. What the hell? What the hell kind of psychotic politician makes that their slogan? Vote for me, more tolls. Well, that's what Kathy Holcomb is saying is, pat me on the back because I dropped more tolls on you. Andrew Cuomo was smart enough to try to run away from it before, but his opponents are going to put that in perspective. Hey, you're Mr. Congestion Pricing. The females are going to line up. Hey, you're Mr. Misogynist or whatever the case may be. So he's going to have to run the gauntlet, man. He's going to have to run the gauntlet. I don't know how that'll work out for certain because New York's a wacky place. His family is very well entrenched and whatnot, so he's very well known politically, but he's made a lot of enemies for whatever reason. He's made a lot of enemies. So what I will say is he's not a shoo-in by any stretch of the imagination. He's not a shoo-in.
No, he's not. No, he's not. You got that right. Well, Jason, another thing too, just want to say thank you for the invite there to the event that went on in New York City. I wasn't able to make it. We had some emergencies in our family, but thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And we're going to keep on supporting Black media no matter what. The next one, I'm going to be there. Anyway, any means necessary, I will be there.
More is coming. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Like I said, I don't know for certain how things will go down there. We'll see how it goes. Cat Lover 619. Cat Lover 1619 needs to give me a call there on Zoom. Cat Lover 1619 needs to give me a call on Zoom. Let me get Hemi here on Zoom. Hemi, you got 5 seconds here. The Zimbabwe broadband is coming through slowly there, but needs Hemi here on Zoom. Hemi, I need you to go ahead and turn the light on for me. Don't get the OnlyFans popping. All right, Hemi, what is on your mind, brother? Unmute yourself, Hemi.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. You look like you lived a rough life, Hemi. This is,
I have, bro.
I can tell, brother. What's on your mind?
This is on my mind, bro. It's 94 when Angelo Robinson got killed in Cabarrus County, Concord, North Carolina, and with Vi. I was treated like a dog in Concord. And I'm saying to you, I'm with you, bro. 100%. If we all can't be happy, we're equally unhappy. And I'm gone, bro.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Absolutely. We cannot all be equally comfortable. We can all be equally undamn comfortable. That's the way that's going to go. They ain't ready for that mentality. Hey, bro, if you ain't going to do right, we going to go all the way wrong. It's not going to be any more half measures and here's a crumb. Either we all going to be good or nobody going to be good. How about that one? You gonna do right by everybody or we ain't nobody gonna be done right by. And we cool with that. Let me go ahead and see if I can get Elijah here. Elijah, did you call in last night, Elijah? Didn't you call up last night?
Only on the business.
Why does you wearing the same damn thing? You sure you didn't call up last night, Elijah?
No, only on the business. Because you only took one call.
Okay.
You only took one call. The lady that called last night about that, what's that, Jamal Bowman? That was
okay, brother Elijah. I could swear you called in last night. I think you think the new hairline makes you look different. And he's like, Elijah's like, wait a minute, my hairline looks no TBA. It's a whole different hairline now. Jason, you just think I called in. No, that wasn't me. The whole different hairline last night.
No, man, no. One call Puerto Rican.
All right, brother Elijah, what's on your mind?
Hey, brother, excellent broadcast as usual. I'm not gonna rant, but I want to make a statement because you was talking about and I want to make a statement that's gonna lead up to the question because you are knowledgeable about this. Before let me answer the question: do we trust Trump? No, we don't. I don't trust him at all. I can't speak for everybody, but I don't trust him. When I called in election night of 2024, I made it clear I did not vote for Trump. I voted against Kamala. That woman scared me to death, and that woman would have been an absolute train wreck for all of us in the Black family. All right, that's what I can say. So, no, I don't trust that man. I don't really trust many white Americans, period. But I'm from New York originally, Brooklyn, New York. And you made a good point about the China, and you made a good point about Russia. And when you go to New York City, a lot of people think that the world's borough is really Queens, and that's not the case. The most diverse borough is actually Brooklyn. You'll find every little piece of the world really in Brooklyn. Queens, they have their enclaves, but you can count basically how many enclaves there is. It's not like Brooklyn, particularly like Brighton Beach. Brighton Beach historically used to be Irish, but now it's Russian. Bensonhurst and everything, Dyker Heights, everything used to be Italian, but now it's Chinese. And what now is leading me to this question for years, Brother Minister Malcolm, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and so many as Dr. John Henry Clark, they keep talking about these other countries being the enemy, but yet they would give them whole communities, homes, land, not mess with them with their businesses, but you're saying these are the enemies. China's the enemy. Russia's the enemy. How are they the enemy? How is China the enemy? And you're allowing them to have Chinatowns pop up and sub-Chinatowns, residential Chinatowns. And Russia, for a long time, they're the enemy. They got nuclear weapons, but you're giving them whole damn neighborhoods in Brooklyn alone.
Okay,
that's my question.
It's an economic strategy.
Yes,
all right, folks, this is the reason why you have to be aware of some of the folks who run this country before you were born. People like Henry Kissinger, and economists like Milton Friedman. These are all very important things to know because these are the people who created these think tanks, that have been operating out there for the Rockefeller Foundation, the Council on Foreign Relations, these think tanks that have formulated, quote, domestic policy and foreign policy.
Yes, sir.
These are the people who created terms like hard power and soft power, hot wars and cold wars. So when you're in a state like this, the whole thing is how do we control the world order since the end of World War II? World War II was the last time that you had a major global fisticuffs and armed resolution to what will be the global order. However, wars ultimately tend to end up being bad for business. What nobody counted on was a bunch of scientists would get together and make a weapon that would turn war unprofitable.
Yes, sir.
So that's what they weren't betting on. They thought the bombs would get bigger. Nobody ever thought there were some physicists. They were used to bomb makers. Now you had physicists who got involved and said, by the way, we can create a bomb so powerful it could wipe out all life. Wait a minute. Nobody's looking for a war where that's the resolution. You want to win, but you want your side to win, which can't happen if everybody's dead. So that was what they weren't counting on. So how do we balance this new world order in a manner in which it doesn't have those pesky nukes dropping? So they started focusing on different strategies. One of the strategies was brain drain.
Yes, sir.
Now that was something in particular that America could specialize in. In the United States, you can become an American. You cannot become Chinese. You might be able to get Chinese citizenship, though that's iffy, but you cannot become Chinese. Russia suffers from the same problem. Culturally, you cannot become Russian. Under European colonialism in America, you can become, quote, American. And that has been a tool that they have leveraged against their opponents around the world. Immigration policy originally was focused on the best and the brightest. That was what immigration policy was focused on. Do you have a skill set? Do you have a trade? Do you have a respectable family? That's what it used to be focused on. The problem with the illegals is you're not doing that vetting process, so you just get any old body. This became a very good and powerful tool to use, and the ultimate expression of this was World War II. When you had a bunch of German Jews who, when Hitler starts acting up, they all knew they could go to North America.
Right.
They were between Hitler and Stalin, both who were anti-Jewish, they knew they could go to North America. They did, but what you understood was they didn't just come to North America. They brought all their skills and all their knowledge and all their resourcefulness with them. World War II taught us, by the way, Germany would have gotten the bomb before us if they hadn't run off their Jewish scientists. If you hadn't been killing them, you could have had the bomb first. So that permanently altered the way the United States and the West looked at how you could utilize and leverage immigration. That changed it forever for them. So they saw, hey, this can be a strategic thing. And they've been using it ever since in that manner. Grab some Chinese folk. The Chinese folk over there, China doesn't want you to have freedom of speech and they have their social credit score and all this old garbage. You know, if you become rich in China, that's probably the most hazardous thing you can do. Go ask the founder of Alibaba, Jack Ma. Go ask him how that went. The United States isn't going to do that to you. Might tax the hell out of you, but they're not going to lock you up because you messed around and became rich.
Yes, sir.
It's gotten to the point now that China's made it a policy that you can't take your wealth out of China.
Yes.
So, and by the way, the United States actually has a similar policy. It's just not as tyrannical as China's is, but the United States actually has a similar policy. But in any case, over there, if you just make too much money to the point that you're influential, get your ass in jail. That's become a very powerful tool. So what happens now is that what Trump is doing is saying, okay, $5 million. What you're doing is the people who will make $100 million, you're going to get them when they get $5 million.
Yes, sir.
They're going to be heading for the exits when they get $5 million. They're going to, and in turn, theoretically, they'll make that $100 million over here.
Yes, sir.
So guess who doesn't get the advantage of that? So because of China's bad policy, you got folk fleeing from over there and coming over here. You and I have witnessed in our lifetimes, take a look at all the Arab doctors that have come over here. And all the African doctors that have come over here. They got trained in the Middle East and then got on the first thing with wings to come to New York or Texas or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Philippines, same thing. They get trained in the Philippines to be nurses and doctors. They're on the first thing to California or Florida.
Yes, sir.
First thing with wings, heading to California or Florida. So this has been a very powerful tool to utilize over the course of since the end of World War II. But that tool has become public policy.
Yes,
so
sir.
Keep that in mind. That's how you end up with America that has an antagonistic relationship with the nation of Russia and yet has an influx of Russian immigrants.
Yes,
has
sir.
an antagonistic relationship with China and yet has a large number of Chinese nationals and immigrants. An antagonistic relationship with the Middle East and yet a large influx of Middle Eastern immigrants. That's why. White supremacy plays both sides of the argument. And that is the ultimate expression, what I just gave you right there. That's the ultimate expression of taking both sides of the argument.
Yes, sir.
Because you're coming to America because they're dropping bombs on you over there in Syria. I'll be damned. Are you sure coming to America was your idea? Are you sure that's your idea? Or was it the bomb's idea? China is a little bit of a different story in that regard, but like I say, it's very, very useful. Now, are there some circumstances under which it goes badly? Well, sure, there absolutely are. But please understand, you're also, most of your business people, especially in big business, are psychopaths. That's not Jason Black talking. We've done whole studies. There have been whole studies that have been done that have substantiated most of your major corporate business folk are psychopaths.
Yes,
Elon Musk, need I say more? Steve
Yes,
Jobs, need I say more? Think about this for a few moments. You take a look at the Fortune 500, most of these so-called leaders of these companies, do you notice that they have something in common? They are estranged from their children. What? Oh, I'm not supposed to say that. Warren Buffett.
Yes.
Elon Musk. Steve Jobs. Oh, hell. Don't mean you got off in folks' personal lives, but by the way, take a look at their personalities and how they run things. Somebody say Jack Welch. Yeah, by the way, did you all notice that all the folk who run our big businesses, by the way, they're at Jeff Bezos, by the way. Yeah, how are him and McKinsey getting along lately?
Right.
So, by the way, though, yeah, I couldn't help but notice that. John McAfee. You want to talk about psychopathy? To the extent that take a look in their families. It's one thing if we could just name one or two. It's like, by the way, down the damn line, I noticed the same thing with all of you. That's a fluke. That's accidental. Yeah, Donald Trump. We can go down the list. I mean, like I say, it's the whole damn 9 yards. So that's a feature, not a bug. That's the rule, not an anomaly. And those are the guys running things. So these are people who, another thing is, you see this in cartoons and anime a lot, but that's the way these guys live. They believe in playing with fire. As Rachel Maddow once said, they believe in pushing things right up to the point of disaster. So they're always trying to see how fast and loose they can play with the rules, including playing hooky with China and Russia and the Middle East. These people do not have morals. They don't have scruples. They will deal with terroristic nation states. They'll deal with communist nation states. People who are on blacklist state actors, they deal with all of them. This is the mentality of the folks you're dealing with. They have no rules to how they make a dollar. None. Now, they make you as a black man, they make you abide by the rules. Otherwise, you go to a black site or get arrested. Prison industrial complex. But not these other folk. Uber is a perfect example. I mean, just ignored the law every damn where they went. That was their business model. Oh, yeah, but they were allowed to do that. Oh, yeah, one more thing. They were allowed to do that. And so are the others.
Yes, sir.
So the reason why you're having a conflict with that is, but by the way, they wouldn't let you do that. Yes, sir. If too many of you show up, now we're going to start closing them borders and changing them rules, and you can't do that. But it's a strategy. They want these Asian nationals over here. They want the Russians over here, but they came here for a reason. And what they're really doing is peeling off the best and brightest to the extent that they can, and they're helping to feed the machine.
Yes, sir.
So that's the reason for it.
Yes, sir. No, I'm gonna land my plane after this, but no, I just noticed how giving and how willing they're able to roll the red carpet out for these so-called enemies, and yet in New York City, where we had historical black neighborhoods like Bedford-Stuyvesant, Harlem, aka Queensbridge, aka Long Island City. We can't have nothing onto ourselves, but you want to roll the red carpet out directly for the said name enemy. And this is what we're talking about, how Malcolm perfectly put it, Brother Minister Malcolm perfectly put it. The white man speaks out of both sides of his mouth.
Well, I mean, because these are the buffer classes brought in specifically to undermine us. That's the other role that they play. And that has been U.S. policy. U.S. policy of every presidential administration and every Congress has been to destabilize those descendants of the slaves. We have to destabilize them because they are the only people with a legitimate grievance, and they have not assimilated. Because of their grievance, they have not assimilated. And we can't afford to assimilate them because they have an agenda that runs contrary to the status quo.
Yes, sir.
So these other folk are being brought in, people who don't share our lineage, don't share our experience, and harbor resentment against us. So they play a useful role in several different levels.
Yes,
and if
sir.
you're willing to play with this particular brand of fire to get this goal accomplished, if you're willing to take this risk, well, that's the way that goes.
I got one quick question. I'm going to get out of here with this one. You just mentioned us assimilating. How could we assimilate? I'll just play devil's advocate. How could we assimilate? And then they never gave us a chance to assimilate, meaning with the Jim Crow laws, with the massive lynchings they was doing in the 60s. They didn't give us a chance to at least try to assimilate to American society, the massive burning of our townships and everything like that. How could we have assimilated and you didn't give us a chance to?
You ask a very, very excellent question. If you all go back through your family's photo albums and whatnot, you go take a look back at World War I, World War II. You see that the black soldiers were dressed exactly the same as the white soldiers. Your mama and your grandmama were dressed exactly the same as the white women. They were not tacky looking or nothing. To the extent of putting chemicals on their hair to straighten it out. After slavery, they did everything that was reasonably imaginable to demonstrate an affinity to assimilate in the society, but there was a problem.
Okay, please. Yes, sir.
Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said it. The issue was not that we were not smart enough, capable enough. We created American culture. The problem is that this assimilation for you will lead to genetic annihilation.
Yes, sir.
We cannot afford to assimilate you. Add to the fact that we have a particular cultural milestone against you where that's concerned, but the bottom line is we can't afford to assimilate you.
Yes, sir.
We can't do that. That's why, for example, you see so many white men who are willing to sit up here, white supremacists, Mike Cernovich, Richard Spencer, who've had Asian girlfriends or Asian wives. The reason for that is because genetically they understand that Asianness will be bred out of their children within roughly 2 generations.
Yes, sir.
The first one looks like Keanu Reeves, and then by the time we get to the second or third generation, they will be indistinguishable from Anglo.
Yes, sir.
That's the point. They notice this. Same thing with the Spanish ones, same thing with the Russian ones. So the quote, not quite white ones, the people who are not quite white, that Asian one was a bit of a hill to get over, but ever since the affinity for Nazis, psychologically and culturally, white supremacist society has gotten over that one.
Yes, sir.
And because Asians are useful and they see where you don't have the same genetic roadblock with Asians that you do with people of African lineage. You don't have that same genetic roadblock. You don't have that one. So that's why they're okay rolling the dice on that. Where we are concerned, it was an immediate roadblock. It's like it doesn't work. The other issue is you cannot assimilate us until you have made recompense for what you have done.
Yes, sir.
We left slavery and that was unfinished business because you tried to turn it. We went from being no class citizens to third class citizens. So once again, as you said, you still have not fixed the situation. If you had done that, we'd have a totally different society today.
Yes,
but I want you all to do an experiment. Go back and go take a look at your old photo albums in your family. Go take a look at your kinfolk who were in World War I and World War II. Take a look at how they dressed. You're going to be kind of shocked and surprised how much like their white counterparts they dressed like. Yes, we were when you take a look at the funeral for Franklin Roosevelt, when the train went by, the black folk were dressed like looking like the white folk, hats and every damn thing else. When you get to Dr. King, there weren't any of our affectations that were radically different from white society. So what is the problem? The problem is we cannot afford to assimilate you. We can't afford to do that. We didn't bring you over here to assimilate you.
Yes, sir.
The ones we brought over, because there's a bunch of you who are already here. But our goal was not to assimilate you. Our goal was to use you and discard you. How were we to know it was going to blow up and be a civil war? But the goal was never to assimilate us. That has been a compensating measure that they've had to enact because they couldn't do what they actually wanted to do.
Yes, sir.
And if anybody doubts that the end game was wholesale annihilation, need I remind you that Nazi Germany learned eugenics and segregation from America, not the other way around. Damn! Nazi Germany cited the United States, specifically the United States, as an example of a segregated society, a segregated white supremacist society that was quote unquote fully functional. that it could be done. And the United States was their example and their template. And Adolf Hitler said, they're doing it in America. There's no reason we can't do it over here. And the end goal when they finished with the Jews was round them up and annihilate them. And that was what they learned from the eugenicists in America. Round them. When you are done with them, you must dispose of them. Otherwise, they constitute, as the architect said in the Matrix, an ever-escalating probability of disaster, which is where white supremacy sees itself at today. Well, what is disaster for them? The end of white privilege. I talked to Jared Taylor face to face. I talked to Richard Spencer face to face. They made it absolutely clear. The issue that they have is that this is a European colony. It's supposed to be by Europeans for Europeans, and that it serves no purpose if it does not give European privilege.
Yes, sir.
That's the end all and be all of everything. This is a European colony and it is meant to serve the interests of white people. And if it cannot do that, then it has lost its purpose and reason for existing. That's what they're on. And if you don't understand that and don't accept that, then you are never going to be able to defeat white supremacy because you don't understand what really motivates them. You'll be chipping away at every damn thing else. You'll be talking about interracial dating as if you figured out what the problem is and then don't realize these Asian women over here. It's like, well, how does that work? You don't actually understand what it is. You don't actually see what it is. Now that you understand what it is and see what it is, now you realize where we're going to make our stand on the stuff that we cannot. Now you understand why they're okay bringing certain folk over here, which means it will not stop. By the way, now that you understand why they're okay with that, now you understand why it will not stop.
Yes, sir.
And you've got a number of other competing interests. Curious Joel up there in that village I told you all about, that's not accidental. There's a bunch of enclaves like that around America. You have more Jewish people in New York than you have in Israel.
Wow.
I mean, well, that's always been the case, that you had more of a Jewish population in America than you've had in Israel. You've always had that. Where it gets tricky, now here's the thing that gets tricky for people, and I don't mean to get off subject here. Here's the thing that gets tricky for people. Most Jewish people will marry outside of their ethnicity.
Yes.
So that's where you have that lossage from. But when you start looking at folks' paperwork, then you realize, I'll be damned. Now, Jewish society has always been aware of this, but please understand there's a reason why they are so supportive of these fundamentalist Jewish enclaves. And I told y'all before, what's going to happen is the kids are going to grow up and leave, but that's the point. The children of Curious Joel will not stay there. They are eventually going to leave Curious Joel and travel down to Manhattan or Brooklyn or Philadelphia, or DC, or Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
The whole point is that these enclaves are meant to be incubators. That's their purpose. So the Jewish politicians and folk that Andrew Cuomo was talking about there in New York, they want to make sure you keep taking your tax dollars to do that because there are several games that are at play here. And here's my thing is that, by the way, while they're making sure that that doesn't happen for us.
Yes, sir.
These same folk who are doing that for Curious Joel are making sure that they don't do that for us. They told us that was a problem. So there are several folks out there. There's several games are at play. Several things are moving at play. Another thing, though, Brother Elijah, you said you have a bunch of Russians up there. And I've seen the Russians in Brooklyn. I've seen the Russians up there. Please remember, one of the largest enclave of Jews outside of Germany before World War II was in Russia. What?
Yes. Yes.
Remember?
Yes, sir.
That was the whole thing, was that north-south movement from Germany to Russia. So when you say we got a lot of Russians up there in Brooklyn, I'm like, what do you mean?
Yes, sir.
Now that I say it like that, there was a folk there who probably wanted to automatically buck against me to say this. Oh, Jason, you sure about that? All the Jews are in Israel. Actually, I'm about to say, when you start taking a look at those terms you all are using, it's like, by the way, you said they're Russian. I'm very glad to hear that. Please remember, yes, Russian is a nationality, not a race.
Yes, sir.
Not in ethnicity in that sense. So when you think about it like that, well, that makes a little more sense. That makes a little more sense. Well, no wonder you can bring over all of these, quote, Russians, and yet the Jewish population in New York doesn't have a problem with that.
No.
Interesting.
And to add to your point, big brother, what did you always, for a long time, teach us about 9/11? It's not so much about 9/11. It went right back, and I lived through that for years. Right after 9/11, it went right back to what these niggas doing. And then, speaking of the devil, Michael Bloomberg, a Jew, maybe not a non-observant Jew, but still a Jew. He got inaugurated January 1st, 2002. Never forget it. So I was still in high school. And his sole purpose in office for those 12 years, stop and frisk, harass the blacks. All right. He did far more damage to Black America. Giuliani probably locked our asses up the most, but he economically did far more damage to Black people in New York City than Giuliani could ever even dream of. And to make matters worse, didn't you say the Muslims were the enemy? Muslims and Jews have a long history of not getting along. You ain't going to those Muslim neighborhoods in Bay Ridge, which used to be Italian.
No, Michael Bloomberg was stomping for the building of the biggest mosque in North America up there in New York. Remember that he was trying to do that. So just imagine that. Michael Bloomberg was the biggest proponent for building the biggest mosque in New York City. I still don't know if they ever actually got that thing done, but I know that he was the biggest cheerleader for doing it. Look, here's my thing. Here's my thing right here. You might be surprised to understand. Michael Bloomberg, he used to be a Republican, then he flipped Democrat because he couldn't fit in over there.
It was opposite.
He went Democrat, Republican.
Yes.
Because he was trying to get in where he fits in.
Yes. Sir.
Here's the thing. The bottom line is, whether it's Michael Bloomberg, David Dinkins, Ed Koch, or whoever, my issue here is that if they were doing for us what they did for Curious Joel, all of that would be a moot point.
Yes, sir.
All of that would be a moot point. Imagine what $100 million would do north of 110th Street.
Yes, sir.
Imagine what $100 million would do north of 125th. Imagine what $100 million would do in the Piano District.
Yes, sir.
Imagine what $100 million would do there. And they've given that to one little old village up there in northern New York. Just to one. And that's the one we're counting. We're not counting all the others.
Yes, sir.
That's the part that's missing right there. And that's been consistent. So you see, then we get down to stop and frisk and all these other things there because this first thing hasn't been done.
Yes, sir.
If that gets done, everything else becomes a moot point because we too busy empire building over here. And if anybody is out of line and causing problems, they're already dealt with. Poor people have to tolerate the local hoodlums because everybody is equally poor. People with resources, he gonna get dealt with because he bad for business. As a matter of fact, him and his slutty ass mama ain't even gonna be able to stay around here any longer because we gonna make whoever owns where she living gonna get her up out of there.
Yes, sir.
See, there's a reason why you don't have a Bedford-Stuyvesant housing project on the other side of Central Park. There's a reason for that. So when you have the resources and everything, it makes all that other stuff a moot point. But I have to remind you all, capitalism needs the poor just as much as it needs the wealthy. Which is why you serve a useful purpose. You're not poor by accident, you're poor by design. You serve a lot of uses. Case in point, affluent people don't work in housekeeping.
No, sir.
Affluent people do not work in housekeeping at the hotels. Keep that in mind. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I'm going to take one more caller here on Zoom. Let me get MB up here on Zoom. Let me go ahead and get MB up here on Zoom. We'll take one more caller and then we'll call it a night here. Waiting for MB here on Zoom. I'll give you 5 more seconds and then we got to move on. All right, we got MB here on Zoom. MB, what's on your mind?
Hey, big bro. Thanks for having me here on your broadcast here, man. Great broadcast you having so far. And yeah, a couple things I kind of on my mind here as you're talking about, us trusting Republican, why should we trust Donald Trump? And my one thing that I think some folks might be getting away from is the fact that some of Trump policies, some of the things that he may have even talked about over the past 24 hours may benefit some folks in terms of investments. But my fear is that some folks who may benefit by accident on some of Trump policies may get confused and be like, oh yeah, Trump is the man. Trump is the man. He pumped my pockets up. And one of my concerns that, people might get confused and say that, yeah, Trump is for me because he helped my pockets blow up in 2025 and forget about the fact that Trump is one whole ass white supremacist on the low. So my fear is that some folks may be out here getting confused. So you may get a bag or whatever or for you personally invest in, but don't get confused. You make yourself stick out or whatever. So that's one of my main concerns about what may transpire this year, is that some folks may get out here, get confused, may get wrecked up or whatever.
No, I mean, look, this is what Democrats do and whatnot. When folks talk about things like earned income tax credit, there's always somebody trying to throw a little few extra pennies there, when in reality, if you had proper investment, you wouldn't be getting crumbs. You'd have the whole loaf. Yeah. It's always a fight and a struggle to get people to recognize when they've been denied the whole loaf and they sitting up here cheering because they've gotten, half a slice of bread. So it's always an education effort to keep people focused. Hey, don't cheer that they gave you $1,000 when in reality you're owed $100,000. You sitting here cheering about the $1,000. Well, they gave me the $1,000. Okay, what about they gave you that so we can stop the discussion about the $100,000?
Right, exactly. And my thing is keep your head on the swivel. And one other thing also I think is I kind of a question that came up now we were talking about reparations, because it's something that I've kind of skimmed through but I haven't read into. When we talk about reparations for us and the BS like HR 40. The other thing that threw me off about that was there's nothing about really anything about delineation. However, somebody else had made mention of that. I want to say the person that made mention of that was even a conservative, a Republican, about passing a bill that recognizes basically our lineage as freedmen. And it is not nothing that stipulates any reparations, but at least would get something in Capitol Hill that says, hey.
Yeah, I mean, and those guys are doing that. We saw that in California. Some of these Republicans have latched onto that because they recognize what the deal is. They're doing that because they're trying to add fuel to the fire because they know that the Democrats are not going to vote for it. So they're offering it up to say, hey, you can't say nobody voted, nobody offered it. So they're doing it deliberately to call the Democrats bluff and to show, hey, if this is offered up, it'll be the Democrats who don't support it. And they're right, by the way, and they're correct. Those Republicans are correct. That doesn't mean I start looking at Republicans as good guys or whatever, because that's not the point. So they're trying to make a point by offering up that issue and showing, hey, by the way, the Democrats do not support this. We recognize that. So that's why our whole thing now is like, okay, we're dropping the polite tones. We're not going to play along anymore. Everybody got to go on the record. And that's why I said with Ayanna Pressley, she said she had 70 folks sign up for the thing. I'm like, it's over 200 Democrats. It's over 200 Democrats in the House. If you can't get every single one of them to sign on for this, that's the problem right there. Don't talk to me about a Republican and you can't get half the Democrats to sign on to this. The problem is not the Republicans, obviously. The problem is y'all. I don't care if the Republicans don't vote for it and the Republicans don't pass it. If it comes to LGBT, all of y'all are signed up for it. Illegal aliens, all of y'all signed up. We show up, we got a third of them, right? Okay, then it sounds like we need to fall back until that other 2/3 gets kicked out. That's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah, that's it right there. And you know what? Like you said, if we can all be equally comfortable, we will be all equally uncomfortable. So I'll land my plane on that, big bro. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much for giving this call tonight. Yeah, like I say, I mean, folks out here, they're jockeying for position politically. They're jockeying for that. Our job is not to get used or played. We know what our issues are. We know what we are doing. We know what our priorities are. So it's very, very important that we keep focused on that. Very important that we keep focused on that. And I want everyone here to understand, like with Brother Elijah, he voted for Trump. We know that. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with that. My thing is make sure you understand why, and let's not be under any illusions about who this is you're talking about and whose side we are on. Let us be under no illusions about whose side we are on. It might have been in your interest to vote for Donald Trump 3 months ago. That was 3 months ago. We are reevaluating every other day. Every day we're going to reevaluate, and is it still in our interest to do that? And that's the way we play it going forward. But more importantly, I want to remind you all, it is not in our interest to go deep off into supporting him or any of these politicians. It is actually in our interest to make sure that their support and their power is tenuous at best. It is in our interest to maintain that no matter what occurs. If he wants his power to increase, there's only one way that we allow that to happen. They're going to have to back the tangibles Brinks truck on up here so we can get that going. But just finding some incidental issues on which we have some common agreement, that's not going to get us to solidify what you're doing. You want to solidify it, concede to the big stuff we told you to. Then we'll see about solidifying you. Until then, it is in our interest to make sure that you don't get too strong up in there. That's in our interest. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. Thank you to everyone who's contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Big shout out here to Keenan Kelly. Thank you very much for your support. Mr. Fremont, Rakai Media, thank you very much. They're also in the Super Chat here. Kate Jackson, thank you very much for your support. Michael Smith is a new member. Kazan Gelly has been giving out the gift that keeps on giving. You've been giving out the gift that keeps on giving here, so we appreciate that as well. Stephanie Ancrum, thank you very much, ma'am. I appreciate that. And to everyone else here tonight, Third Eye Open, appreciate your support as well. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight's program, live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.